Hello everybody, Media Ghoul here. Got another very sophisticated and highbrow, very important topic to discuss with you all today. Just before we get right on into it, because, no faffing about here. I just need to quickly check my brand spanking new microphone. Just one moment, make sure the old audible levels are okay. Alright, I've nipped that up ever so slightly, and by ever so slightly I mean quite a lot. So we'll just quickly double check the audio once more, and we will get right into the very important discussion that we're about to have. Very important stuff, guys. Excellent. Well, hello everybody. Media Ghoul here. As you can tell, we have a little bit of a subject to talk about today. Very important subject, of course, in regards to Arcane. Everybody's favourite show that, is not divisive at all. And, everybody thinks Season two's fantastic. So, I thought what we could do is have a little bit of a chat about something that has gotten my goat in regards to Arcane ever since friggin' Season 1. Which I know, guys, it's a crazy thought. Season 1 is damn near perfect. What are you talking about, Media Ghoul? Well, unfortunately, it is, yeah, damn near perfect, but unfortunately not perfect, right? So this is one of the things that is that you notice during Season 1, but it doesn't really bother you because you got so much good stuff to think about that you don't even worry about something as quote-unquote minuscule as Piltover having like some of the worst security I have ever seen in pretty much anything. Aside from that, I yeah, so when you're watching Season 1, you might notice, these enforcers, they're quite scary. They're often shown as quite intimidating, quite scary, especially, when you've got Powder's view of them and the scary monster faces. And, that's cool. I liked that about the Enforcers, right? How they're like this intimidating force, quite spooky. And, if you went for like a Zorn revolution, you definitely want the Enforcers to be more quote unquote bad guys, quote unquote, depending on the POV that you want to go for. Obviously, we want it to be a bit more grey than that, but I didn't mind them making the Enforcers out to be some kind of horrific force. But as you watch on to Season 2, it becomes obvious that the Enforcers are a bunch of buffoons. Absolute buffoons. And I don't know how they ever won anything. I don't know how they can hold off against Zorn, who are a bunch, I don't want to generalize here, but when you're talking about, like, the soldiers, you've got these, like, chem-addicted, shimmer-infused, willing to do a lot of nasty stuff kind of people, who somehow lost to these oi where's your breathing license gov people. Like, that makes zero sense to me, but absolutely fine. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to go through and have a little bit of a chat and talk about some of the examples of the Enforcers and Piltover in general having, like, the worst, like actual laughable security, alright? So let's jump on in. Oh, of course, naturally, how could I forget? We have a cringe point by the media girl, alright? Piltover's terrible security. I present to you in the most sophisticated manner available to me. Oh my gosh, I'm ruining everything already. Here we go. Okay, so Season 1, Episode 1. Let's go all the way back to the beginning, right? The good times. Yeah, where everything was great and, there was no issues with anything in regards to anything to do with the show, and the show was perfect, right? Season 1, Episode 1. You've got these youngsters, these little teeny boppers, who, they break into Piltover, they break into Jayce's lab or his house, and, they blow up the unrefined hex tech crystal, which, pretty serious thing. You've got this massive explosion in the city, which, leads, as you all know, into the sheriff investigating, making a deal with Vander, being arrested, da-da-da-da-da. Basically, all the events of the show stem from this particular event. But that's not what the important thing is, right? So let's have a little bit of a read here. So the enforcers are unable to catch a bunch of kids, and, kids, after an explosion within their city. And yeah, look, this isn't some, oi oi, let's see your friggin' walking license. It's not, oh, these kids stole something, or, oh, they're loitering, or, oh, they're not where they're meant to be. No, there was just this massive explosion, unprecedented in your city, and you're probably thinking, is this some kind of Zornite terrorism thing? Yeah, we gotta figure out what's going on. So, probably best to catch these kids, right? Now, obviously, we understand that these kids are not just some random ragamuffins. They've done this kind of stuff before, so they get a little bit of a pass. But the enforcers don't get the pass, right? So the kids get the pass that, yep, they should absolutely be able to do this. The enforcers, however, don't get any kind of pass in this situation. They literally have bowler, just what you saw right there, these bowler weapons, which every single one of them miss with. And again, these are grown men chasing children. I'm sorry, but Powder is a tiny little thing with tiny little legs, and these are a bunch of grown-ass men. How they can outrun, I don't know. Maybe, these guys were just oh, yeah, they're the typical Brexit geezer. They're no, I just want to go to the pub after this, mate. I don't want to chase these bloody kids. I want to go and have a bloody beer, enjoy me Brexit geezer lifestyle. Yeah, it's just a little bit cringe. And, because this is Season 1, Episode 1, you don't really think much of it. Even though this takes place very soon after the intro sequence, where the enforcers are made out to be these this very almost horrific force against our characters, and then we get this sequence, which, yeah, again, as I said, makes sense for the kids to escape. Absolutely, they've done this kind of thing before, no trouble. But the enforcers failing? Come on, guys. There was a bloomin' explosion. Let's take this a little bit seriously, y'all. A little sip of coffee. Now, I did find it a little bit disappointing. As I said in the intro, you go from this intro sequence of, oh man, these enforcers ain't to mess with, and then you immediately go with, well, actually they can be messed with. I get Vi and probably the fellas could outrun these grown adults, sure. But yeah, It reminds me, and it's not as bad, but it reminds me of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, when Princess Leia as a child, somehow as a tiny, tiny child, outruns multiple adults multiple times. And it's do you guys know how this works? These little, kids, sure, they run about, but gee willikers, they are pretty easy to catch because they have tiny little legs. They can't really go that fast. All right. So yeah, look, the first real interaction, quote unquote, with our main characters that we see in regards to the enforcers is them just being a bunch of chumps, not being able to catch a bunch of little kiddies, little teeny boppers. So yeah, not a good start. But as I said before, you're in this basically almost perfect season of television, so you don't even think about these things. Until Season 2 rolls about, and there becomes many more issues with the enforcers and Piltover security, and then you start thinking of everything else, and it's not great. So let's have a look at what the next little point here is, shall we? Alrighty. So, let's have a look at this here. Un momento, please. Wonderful, no problems there. Okay, so this is a little bit of a thing, but so in, as we know, season 1, Jinx is able to set up traps, murder enforcers, steal the Hextech gemstone, which I don't know why that was just left at this like event, but it was just left there, and then escape Piltover without issue. So she has the time to go into wherever these enforcers go, set up the bombs, set up the traps, do her graffiti, right? And I get it. There is a good excuse there. You know, there's this big party going on. It's Progress Day. So there's a lot of people that are either distracted, or let's say there's a lot of enforcers that are standing guard throughout the city for events. You know, that's perfectly fine. But it just feels like, in the same vein, should this not be more secure than usual because you have this big event? Shouldn't there be more enforcers out doing things, keeping an eye on things because of this event? Why is it that the only enforcers that are guarding the brand new technology of a Hextech gemstone, which if in the wrong hands could produce some pretty awful results, you know, they talk about that throughout season 1, and it's guarded by a bunch of enforcers sitting outside having a smoke, which, yeah, you distract them, you get free reign on the entire, like, facility or building? I don't know, that doesn't really make a huge amount of sense to me. I guess maybe they were wanting to go for, well, she distracted these guys outside. You know, she had the time to set up the voice recorder, set up the traps, do the graffiti, and she distracted the people out front so she could sneak in, and then maybe there's some extra stuff going on. You know, the explosion drew out more enforcers so she could get in easier and steal the gemstone. But it's just one of those, like, layered things of why was the gemstone just left there? Why didn't Jayce pocket it? Why didn't Viktor pocket it? Why didn't Heimerdinger get his Poro to eat it? You know, I don't know. It's just a little bit bizarro that you leave, like, your basically like your marble-sized nuclear reactor just out for any old chum to see and grab. And it's also unannounced technology. Let's remember the scene before. He doesn't even announce it. Right, so he's got it there. It's this newfangled thing. He doesn't even announce it, and he just leaves it there? Come on, dude. Oh, I don't know. And then, yeah, you've just got, like, a group of, like, what, say, 5 enforcers out the front, sitting there having a smoke, guarding the entire building. As I said, you know, you can headcanon a few things to make it make sense, but it is a little bit silly. And it all kind of comes to why was it left there to begin with, but also, where's the actual security? You have, like, in that space, not maybe an hour ago, you had, like, every single wealthy, powerful individual in Piltover in one room. You would expect that there would be some kind of... Well, we see in Season 2 that when something happens, security seems to actually go down instead of up. So it makes sense in Season 1 that when you have, like, every dignitary, all the powerful rich people in all of Piltover in one room, that you just, yeah, we have a couple Brexit geezers outside having a smoke. You know, that's the best security we could do around here in old Piltover. Yeah, not the best security, guys. Not the best. And again, why are you just leaving the gems to... Anyway, that stuff's crazy to me. But it's fine. We can move on. We're still on Season 1, which is still, like, nearly perfect of a television show. So, all right, what do we have? So this is a big one. Like, in my opinion, this is one of the, in season 1 at least, like, the biggest security failing in Piltover. Well, aside from the end, which we're going to get to, but... So, Jinx is able to break into the Kiriman estate, kidnap Caitlyn, and move through Piltover, potentially with Caitlyn's unconscious body, right? Let's say, for argument's sake, she's holding a weapon to her side and she's conscious and she's walking alongside her, or whatever. Because obviously, if she was carrying around a half-naked, unconscious body, you would hope that one of the oi Brexit friggin' enforcers would have seen and done something. Anyway, so potentially with Caitlyn's unconscious body, without detection, while there is a blockade on the bridge, right? And nice of Jinx to dress her, of course. But we are in a moment in Piltover, in the story, where there is a blockade on the bridge, there is, like, super hyper increased security because of Zorn, so... And look, I don't want to sound like I'm saying, you know, Jinx is some buffoon that can't get caught. It's just the fact that she can do this so easily is kind of insane, right? Not only break into Piltover, which that's fine, you know, you can do that all day. I completely get that, you can get away. There's a million reasons how you could get into Piltover. Totally fine. But then break into the Kiriman estate, which I put the little clip at the end, like... Mel's mum heard, like, the window open and she rushes to her daughter's room with a gat, right? Like, ready to pop off. I don't know, maybe Caitlyn's mum wasn't in the house at this time, or, you know, maybe she didn't go, help me, mother, help me. I don't know. But, yeah, it seems like a interesting comparison where Caitlyn and Vi break into her room. Immediately, within seconds, her mother is there with a blat, ready to go ka-chinga, ka-chinga, you know. But here, you know, for the story and for the impact of the moment and blah, 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 Jinx is just able to, break in, squiggle a little monkey face on the mirror, kidnap Caitlyn, potentially knock her out and drag her unconscious body somehow back to Zorn. Now, the only thing I can think of is that she got on the blimmin' Heimerdinger Boat Express, you know, his little dinghy that he uses, and boated her way over. Which, herein lies another issue which I didn't even put in the slides. If you are setting up a blockade on the bridge... why aren't you checking all of the boats? Literally in the water below you. Seems like a bit of a security failure, right? You're going to set up all these blockades all over the bridge. You're going to have all your enforcers there making sure no one can get past. But boats can? Alright. Makes sense to me. No troubles at all. Makes perfect sense to me. But look, just the image of, like... Jinx with Caitlyn's unconscious body over her shoulder, just waltzing through Piltover, like walking past enforcers, and the forces like, oh, it's time for the pub. I don't know. I'm not dealing with that, you know. I've got to go to the pub, got to go down to the pub, meet up with the boys, talk about Tottenham, talk about Chelsea, I don't know, it's coming home. You know, whatever these bloody enforcers talk about. Yeah, it's a bit of a... bit of an ever so slightly cringe situation, in my opinion. Anyway, let's move on. Alrighty. So this is a bit more of a basic one. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it is something to think about, right? Like, you're designing your city of Piltover, the city of progress, you know? Runeterra is a place of war and magic and the void and gods and all sorts of insanity, right? You set up Piltover to get away from all that, to try and get some form of peace or something like that going on. So you set up your big city on the top of the hill. You put your council chamber. Let's have a looky what we got here. It is the night. Maybe they did not see anything. That's why Jinx is able to go. Look, 100%. 100%. Like, that's what I was saying before. Like, maybe even Mel's mother was not in the house, right? But here's the thing. I don't know if you've ever noticed in your city, when the night goes down, there are more cops around. I don't know how it goes in your city, but that's something that I've noticed wherever I've ever been. You know, during the day you get the odd cop car drive past or police car drive past. And then when night comes, often because nighttime is when all the bad, naughty things happen, there's this sudden influx in police presence. And yeah, look, it's totally chill. Like, again, we're talking season 1. So these are like pretty big nitpicks just to try and pick out things for this particular subject, but it is real, right? Like, you know, and again, yes, it's nighttime, but she gets to the bridge, which is blockaded with all these spotlights, and it's like, well, what are we doing now? You're going to have a swim with Caitlyn's unconscious body? That's a bit dangerous. And again, I do kind of like the idea that she knocks Caitlyn out right out after the shower, and she's like, oh, whoops, and just has to awkwardly, like, dress her, like, pick out, oh, she'd look great in this, like, purple outfit, and, like, spends, like, half an hour just dressing her up before she takes her away. Anyway, so... So you design your council chamber for Piltover, you know, where all of the leaders will be making very important decisions, the rulers, basically, of your city. And somehow, you are able to, fire a rocket from Zorn, not even from Piltover. That would be more excusable, because obviously you're in Piltover. But all the way from Zorn, there is a spot where you can just straight fire a missile directly into the window of the council chamber where all of, like, the most important people of your city are. Oh, look, I love season 1, love the visuals here, love what it sets up, love all that, da-da-da-da-da. But it is a little bit like, you, like, 5 years ago had, like, this massacre on the bridge against these Zornites. Piltover and Zorn have a lot of history, even before they were Piltover and Zorn. So, you know, it just seems like... I don't want to, you know, we're not talking about any real-world situations here, which it can be quite reminiscent of, but it just seems if you've got two territories right next to each other, which don't exactly get along the best, maybe you don't want your high tower, ivory tower, council chamber to be in direct sight of just a spot in Zorn, because this place is special to the main characters, but this location isn't very special at all. It is like a warehouse in Zorn, right? In the lanes. So this is just a spot you can go to, and you can get a direct line of sight literally into the window of the council chamber. Bearing in mind that this is a civilization on both sides, with technology, with guns, with missiles, with bombs. So it's just like, I would fire that architecture, guys. Heimerdinger, whoever, when you were setting up little Piltover, whichever fella you hired was it Vega? Was it Vega, your buddy from the old Bandle City, the evil little bastard? Yeah, seems a little bit sus. Again, I do want to say a little bit nitpicky because I love Arcane Season 1, blah 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 blah. But it's one of those things, right? We're talking about Piltover security. Kind of stands out like a little bit of a sore thumb here. Maybe don't have the council chamber on the high hill ivory tower overlooking everybody, including the people that you might potentially be at war with. Whatever. Moving on. Moving right along, governor. Okay, on to season 2. On to the fun stuff, folks. We're beyond the nitpicking, and we're on to the fun. All right. Now, Zorny, God, is able to infiltrate a memorial to council members who have recently been killed by a surprise attack from Zorn. Okie dokie. So Zorn does a surprise attack, and then guess what they do immediately after? Oh, what's that? Another surprise attack? Ah, who would have saw that coming, guys? Okay, so again, we're talking Piltover security here. And we understand that Ambisa of Noxus has a part to play here. Alright, so it's not all on Piltover. Let's make that very clear. We all know Ambisa is playing her little games in the background. The show makes that obvious before it even tells you. But it doesn't matter. I'm sorry, because we've got a slide about that coming up. But Ambisa is a foreign agent to your city. Your city has just been attacked by another quote-unquote foreign agent. Your neighbour has shot a missile into the council chamber room and killed half the council. So, you set up a memorial. You know, you've got the other council members there, you have dignitaries, you have some of the, wealthiest people in Piltover at this memorial. Maybe, I don't know, just maybe you should have extra security. You know, maybe you should be like to Ambisa, hey Ambisa, you're not invited, sorry. We've just had a foreign agent attack us, you are one of those. I'm not saying that you've done it, but you have to stay far, you and your people have to stay far away from this. We need to go into lockdown. We need to go into a massive security lockdown, right? But somehow, even with you have a character like Caitlyn Karaman, who is in the Enforcers, who would be like, no, the only people that are going to be guarding this place are people that I handpick, for example. There's no sheriff, remember this. The sheriff has recently died. Half the council has died. So we're in, chaos mode at the moment, you know. It's hard to just go with the normal flow of things once something like this has happened, you know. You need to be super secure. And this brings up another kind of cringe element. You need to be super secure, which they are, so they put their council meetings underground. But then, yes, I know it's Caitlyn, but then you allow Caitlyn to, walk in with a task force of enforcers, heavily armed with Hextech weaponry, unannounced, uninvited. Guys, security, please. That's how military coups happen, guys. Come on. y'all need to think about this. So I had real issue with this even being able to happen. Again, I know I've said that Ambisa set it up, but it doesn't matter. You are your own nation, you have your own security, yeah? You should be a little bit more on edge, you know? This is unprecedented as far as probably, people, especially Heimerdinger is concerned. He set up the city, 300-400 years ago? And yes, there's been a lot of disaster in this location's history. But this might be one of, the worst things that's happened in Piltover. In recent memory, we have that scene in Season 1 of all the cannons at the port. So obviously they've had to defend themselves against someone in the past. Maybe that's pre-Piltover, pre-Zorn. Jana era stuff. But yeah, I found this all quite cringe. And again, yes, you have the security of putting your council meetings underground, but you also let a team of heavily armed people unannounced walk in. This is how nations are lost, guys. You also, this does have this slide, but it is relevant. So again, Ambisa is setting all this stuff up, scheming in the background. She is from Noxus. Guys, this is what Noxus does. They are expansionist. They are constantly looking to expand their borders. You should know this. Everyone in Piltover should know who Noxus is, what they do. Mel especially, right? You guys should be prepared for things like this. Oh, I guess not. Piltover's just a bunch of buffoons. Ugh. Not the best. Not the best. Look, if half of your council dies, and you're holding a memorial, that needs to be one of the most secure events ever in your history. The rest of the council are there. All of your wealthy politicians and such and business folk are there, you know? God. And like, once the fight starts, it's like, all these enforcers either don't have their guns, or they can't shoot for shit. Like, what? Guys, it's your one job. Literally, because we know you don't do anything else. We've seen that you guys don't do anything else. Your one job is to have your gun ready to go to blit blat blotters all night, right? They can't even do that. I mean, the lady, look, on screen right now, old Remy, whatever her name is, blocks a bullet with her chainsaw and then just, like, basketball weaves the other bullet. Like, what are we doing, guys? Oh, God. It's fine. Well, it's not fine, because she should be infused with shimmer if you want her to do something like that. But she's not. She's infused with chems because she's got the green chems. Turn the green purple, she can dodge bullets. Like, simple as that. Simple as that. If she was injecting shimmer, I would absolutely have no issue with her bobbing and weaving bullets like that. But she ain't. Yeah? Unfortunately for y'all, she's puffing that gasoline, yeah, because it also fuels her chainsaw, so it's like she's just sniffing petrol all day. But anyway, what do we have next? Yeah, so this is kind of what I mentioned with the last slide. So, Piltover, you know, the city of progress, filled with geniuses and scientists, and oh my, we're all so smart, allows the brutal expansionist empire of Noxus to maneuver around and infiltrate their leadership. You know, as if this isn't something that Noxus does all the time to take territory, right? So the timeline with this show is a bit funky, right? Because either Noxus is starting, which bullshit, it's been like 1,000 years, but, you know, let's say they're revamping their timeline ever so slightly, and Noxus isn't 1,000 years old, and LeBlanc hasn't, you know, and Vladimir didn't set it up along with all this other stuff with the Noxy barbarians 1,000 years ago, blah, 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 blah. Let's say they're a little bit new to all of this, so, you know, all the surrounding empires like Piltover don't actually know how terrible and expansionist they actually are. That would allow something like this to take place. But the reality is I don't think that's where we're at, yeah? Because of the timeline, the characters we have established. Noxus has to be 1,000 years old. Noxus has to have been doing this for centuries, you know? So, especially, oh my goodness, especially if Jericho Swain is about. Fellas, bro wants to take over the world, basically. Or he wants to expand Noxus because of the coming darkness, and even if the world falls, Noxus will stand, da-da-da-da. So, you're Piltover. Let's go all the way back. You're like a council member for Piltover. Mel is a council member as well. She's a Noxian, but you know that she's been out of Noxus since she was a child. So you give her a bit of faith, you give her a bit of trust, right? Fine. But then her mum shows up, and her mum is a high-ranking general with her own Noxian guard, and she also brings those guardsmen with her. Now, if you were anybody else, in my opinion, you'd be like, oh, hi, Ambessa, you can have 1 or 2 bodyguards, but all of your soldiers can piss off. We are the city of progress. We aren't the city of war. We aren't the city of bending over backwards for Noxus. We're the city of progress, baby, and technology. If you want to be here, chill. If you want to come see our things, chill. Absolutely fine. But you need to, you know, have an eye kept on you, basically. So it's a little bit sad. I was so excited that they were bringing Noxus into the play because in lore, they are such a crazy force, but that also means that the people within this universe should already know who they are, what they do, and what they're capable of. So you have this high-ranking general come in and start scheming in the background and vying for power and da-da-da and da-da-da, and it's like, of course, that's what they do. And it's just allowed to happen The caveat that they have here is that, yeah, there's just been this chaotic event and we need some kind of rulership. Why why they listen to Ambessa in the first place? Again, it is like a military general from potentially one of your enemy states coming in and like being like, oh, I think this person should run the show. You know, most sane individuals would be like, oh, well, that's the last person we're going to get to run the show. Even though we as an audience know Caitlyn hasn't been set up in this way, Caitlyn has no idea this is going to happen. Well, that's what the audience knows, right? This isn't what the characters know. These are meant to be smart people. It's meant to be inventors and scientists and wealthy individuals, but they're all a bunch of buffoons. Goodness me. Oh, just like real life. All right. Anyway, yeah, that kind of got my goat a bit, because again, when you know Noxus, how crazy Noxus can be, they got the pass here. Like, they easily just waltzed in. Like, this is Jericho Swain's like wet dream, basically. That this city that's been set up for hundreds of years, that is like a beacon of progress in Runeterra, that has these Hextech rune gates, basically open the front door, pull out the red carpet, and bend over for you. Oh my goodness. What a dream. Jericho Swain, what a dream. Alright. Here's one that I've gone on about a lot. And I'm sure you're sick of hearing me talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it because it's relevant. It's relevant to the theme of today's highbrow, high-budget stream. So, Caitlyn, which we know is a fantastic investigator, Caitlyn, Piltover, and Noxus, oh my gosh, is unable to track down Jinx when she has to either hang out in a place that allows a massive balloon to inflate and fly away, or she's been practically in the same place the whole time. She walks around Zorn with a bedsheet as a disguise. And Isha, who knows where it is and comes and goes from there, is a child, alright? So these are all things that would kind of point to the fact that you ain't staying hidden for very long, okay? So let's go through them. So Caitlyn, Piltover, and Noxus, joint resources. Caitlyn is a brilliant investigator. She managed to find out from her bedroom that Silco is behind everything, whilst the sheriff is actively keeping that information at bay, right? So you got to be pretty good at doing your job to figure that out. You literally have an agent working against you to figure that out, and you still manage to do it, yeah? Piltover and Noxus, you have all the resources of Piltover and the Enforcers. You have Noxus, who are, as we've seen, absolutely more than willing to just march into Zorn and help set up security checkpoints and da-da-da-da. So they're not messing around. We know from the lore that they don't mess around. So those three entities, Caitlyn, Piltover, and Noxus, unable to... They just can't do it. It's just impossible. It's literally too hard. Now, in regards to her layer, there is two possibilities here, right? Simply because of the design and what we've seen throughout Season 1 and Season 2. So, first, she's either hanging out in a place that allows a massive balloon, which is on screen right now, to inflate and fly away. So she would have to be in a large, tall, like, smokestack with an open roof, which, you know, a lot of people were saying, well, she can't be found because she's underground in the tunnels and the vents and the da-da-da. She can't be found because she's squirreled away so well. Sorry, that can't be the case if the airship in the end is also her lair, right? Like, literally impossible. She would have to be in some kind of tower or smokestack, as I said, and there can't really be too many of those around, unfortunately. I know there is industrial zones, massive industrial zones in Zorn, but there are only so many large towers. Yeah. So she can't be underground if the air balloon is her little hideaway. She can't be squirreled away somewhere super secret. It has to be somewhere where that massive balloon, as I said, can not only inflate, but fly out. Not great. Or, let's go, no, you buffoon, you buffook, how, you haven't even watched the television show. And you go, oh, well, that's not her air balloon at all. Cool. Absolutely fine. Kind of makes things worse, though, because that means she's been practically in the same place for years. Like this whole time, since she was a kid, basically. And no one knows. Really, nobody knows. You have people actively investigating you, chasing you, following you, da-da-da-da, and nobody knows. Okay. Even though Smeech, literally an hour, maybe even less time after agreeing to hunt you down and hand you over to Piltover, finds you. Ah, okay, yeah. So she's impossible to find until she actually is found. By Smeech. Okay, yeah. See, it doesn't work, guys. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. Like, she either has to be in a place where no one can find her, she can't be walking about, she can't be doing anything, or Piltover and Caitlyn are a bunch of brain-dead buffoons, yeah? Simple as that. That's the unfortunate reality of the events that we have been shown, right? She walks around Zorn in a bedsheet, like, as a disguise, right? So, you know, not only will you have, like, enforcers and investigators out looking for her, you've got the task force looking for her. This is Zorn, guys. This is Zorn. I'm sorry, but there will be one shimmer-addicted dude who is more than happy to get a bit of money to tell the enforcers, oh, I saw Jinx go this way into this place, da-da-da-da. Like, the wanted posters are everywhere. And you're meaning to tell me that not a single person in Zorn is desperate enough to sell Jinx out? Even just to the fact of, oh, I saw her go to this arcade. Or I saw her go to this place. Really? Nothing. Nuck? Ugh. We've been shown that Huck, in Season 1, who clearly cares for Vi and is willing to help Caitlyn save Vi, sells her out immediately for a bit of shimmer, right? So the show sets up that people in Zorn are willing to sell out their own for themselves because of whatever, because of the shimmer addiction, because of their situation, whatever. So it plays against itself constantly, and it is an etch in the enforcers in Piltover and Noxus, and the final part, Isha, who is a child. And I talked about this in the character live stream I did. It is very dangerous to have a child that knows where you are when you're on the lam, just come and go. Like, because we're not even going to talk about torture, yeah? We're going to talk about an adult would be able to get information out of a child without the child knowing they are giving any information away. Right? Like, I'm not saying Isha would sell Jinx out. Never. Never, never, never. But she might do that without even knowing. Right? That's what, like, a good interrogator would do. Plus, it goes into the Season 1, Episode 1 thing of, like, this is a child. How can you not catch a child? You have bowler grenades that will capture things, and you can't catch a kid. It's crazy. It boggles my brain. You can't have, like, again, if the whole time Noxus and Rictus and the enforcers were never, ever looked at as some intimidating, scary force, fine. It would just all be part of the thing. But they constantly want to show you that all the enforcers are actually quite scary and nasty and fascist and blah 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 and horrible and rah 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 and this word and this word and this word. When the reality is they're the complete opposite. They're a bunch of bufooks. How they hold off Zorn. Like, how did Vanda and Silco lose on the bridge? Like, did all of the good enforcers that were actually talented soldiers just retire after that day? Or oh, blows my brain apart a little bit, but she'll be right. And yeah, look, the reality is you have an entire city's resources, along with Caitlyn, who has been shown to be a fantastic detective, is unable to find someone who either is in a very obvious place or in the same place and is just walking around. Ugh, whatever. Moving right along, shall we? Alrighty. So here's an interesting one. And it's a very minor thing, but I think it is, they made it so blatant in the show, so I'm going to talk about it. So, the average enforcer seems to be so brain dead, they are unable to notice when their co-worker and squad member changes height, body shape, talks differently with a different accent, and suddenly has a metal finger? What? My guy. So in my breakdown, I make a little bit of a meme that, maybe this creepy guy here is doing a little bit of flirty, because he actually knows the woman who's under the mask, right? They work together. They're potentially on the same guard team, right? So they might know each other. Maybe they're an item. Maybe they're together. Maybe they've been married for 30 friggin' years. Jinx, baby, you don't know that. You have just taken this random person's place over, and for the, she's a bad, bad boss moment, they get her to pull a finger. Showing off to this man who might know this person that suddenly it's a metal, robotic, basically, finger. Now, I don't know about Joel, but if one of my co-workers went for a smoke break and suddenly came back, and I couldn't see their face both times, and one of their fingers was suddenly this perfectly functional metal finger, that would be a bit sus, because that would be a bit noticeable. You probably would have had conversations about it. You would have been like, oi gov, what's up with your finger? And she would have been like, me finger, I was having a cold one down at the pub. All this Brexit geezer nonsense. But again, for the bad boss moment, they want Jinx to pull the fingers at this guy because he's being a creep. Cool, great guys, you get your cool moment, but it just opens up this thing of, well, what if this guy A isn't a creep and was just doing that because he maybe, again, they're an item, maybe they're on their way for their bloody 69 break or whatever. But B, how does Noah, I'm sorry, but I know my co-workers, if I've worked with someone, I know how tall they are, I know how skinny or large they are, I know their accent, and I know that they've got all their fingers. You pay attention to these things when you work with someone all day for potentially years. And this is... This isn't only an issue for the enforcers, but this is an issue for Stillwater prison security as well, which we'll get to. But again, it's one of those things where the writers, they want this moment, they want this imagery, and they just kind of maneuver around things that make sense to make it happen. Which you could have had this if you really wanted this kind of moment, you could have had it. Just maybe don't have Jinx undercover while she does that. Yeah, because it's super sus, in my opinion. Super sus. All of these enforcers at Stillwater Prison, let's say they're all on break, having lunch, sitting in the cafeteria having lunch. You would notice that someone has a middle finger, and you'd be like, oh, what's the story there? It's things like that are so noticeable, guys. Plus, they even show us in the show the height change. I put, right there, you can see the lady, is almost as tall as Savika. Savika is behind her and taller, but then it goes to Jinx, who is much shorter, much skinnier, has a different accent. They even had the girl talk with the stupid joke of, yeah, Jinx, the international criminal mastermind, wears pants like that. Oh my god. Oh my god. I died of cringe, folks. I died of cringe. But anyway, it's just one of those. It's, again, we're looking a little bit nitpicky here totally fine, because that's the point where we're etching, this foundation that, the enforcers of these big, scary, fascist dictatorship. The reality is, they ain't. They stupid, they blind, they deaf, they dumb. They cringe. Anyway. So this is like, Stillwater Prison is like meant to be hot shit, right? Season 1, Stillwater Prison was like, oh man, this is a place where you never want to be, right? You never want to go there, it seems real hard, blah, 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 blah. But, turns out, the reality is, Stillwater Prison is nothing. Jinx and Viktor just walk in to this prison, which is meant to house, like, the worst of Zorn, the worst of Piltover. It's in between the two. It's meant to have the baddest of the bad, and two folks just waltz in from knocking one person out, have a conversation with the front guard, and just walks in. My God. Ridiculous. Then they free people. And yes, they freed people, but we saw before Warwick attacked, that whole squad of enforcers, it doesn't matter. We know already at this point that squad of enforcers are a bunch of idiots that don't know how to fight and are probably blind. They're probably just going to run around and not do anything. Jinx would be able to take them out with her eyes closed. Simple as that. Simple as that. One-armed Savika would be able to take those enforcers out. So, literally, these two waltz in, break out a bunch, and I mean bunches and bunches of people, who, some of which unfortunately do get a little bit scratched up by Warwick, unfortunate, but they still managed to do it. And it's just one of those things where you set up Stillwater to be this hard prison that Vi has become, like, over the years has been trapped in. How horrible. Oh, actually, Vi, you should have just walked out because the security's that miserable. Ugh. Yikes. Does anybody know... Serious question. Do you all remember the Metal Jaw Man, the guy from Season 1 who Vi as a child smacks and breaks his jaw, and then he's in Stillwater Prison, and Vi smacks him in the jaw again, breaks his jaw again, and then we see him in Season 2, and he's got the metal jaw, and then Vi smacks him again, da-da-da-da. Does anybody know how he got out of Stillwater? Like, Silco's men go to Stillwater to rot. They don't get let out. So this guy must have been a really nice guy, right? Like, he got let out of the harshest prison. Not only did he get let out of the harshest prison, he went home and became a pit fighter instead of rejoining a Chem Baron crew. Oh, he's such a nice guy. No one cares for Metal Jaw Man, though. That gives me an idea for a video or a live stream. Anyway, let's move along before I spoil it. Alright, we're getting close to the end of these slides, at least, folks. So, I'm sure I'm not the only person that was thinking this in the last fight, right? It's a little bit cringe. It is a little bit cringe. The enforcers, armed with guns and hex tech, are unable to hold off a few wooden boats with enemies armed with crossbows and spears. Now, I've said it throughout this stream already, the Noxian soldiers are great. I would argue that the Noxian soldiers are some of the best, up against Demacia. Like some of the best soldiers you could hope for. But guns go boom boom pow, Guns go pacoo. Doesn't matter how good of a fighter you are. If you get shot with a gun, you're done. Like, it happened in real history, yeah? Look at Japan, the samurai, right? Who also used guns a lot, by the way, so not a great example. But, they have their paper armor, they have their swords, and it's like, soz bud, this musket is actually better than anything you have going on, and I'm just a farmer, and you're a nobleman, tee hee, look at how the world changes. So, we know that if you have melee weapons and a little bit of iron armor and a shield. Soz, buddy, that's not going to do much against a gun. Plus, you got hex tech. And they lose. What? How? You are on the defensive. They literally have to get their boats into your territory, land, get out of boats, form their formations, and then march. They shouldn't be able to get close to the ocean. We saw in Season 1, you have lines and lines and lines of cannons facing the ocean. Why aren't you using those? We've seen in Season 1 that it is not some easy feat to go from the water to the heart of Piltover. It's an entire city. What is going on? The best they could do was set up like a couple blockades. Plus they've had an influx of people joining the enforcers to stand again. Like, we see that whole little story with the blue-haired girl, which, oh no, she would have been a rock star, but oh no, she died in battle. Oh, it's so terrible. We had all that, so we know that the enforcer numbers boosted. Oh, but a bunch of dudes with red cloth and a little bit of armor, a shield, a spear, and a crossbow. You can't hold them off? My God, that's so cringe, man. Yeah, they've got cannons on their boats, but their boats are made of wood. The next slide has to do with this, so we'll quickly jump that in as well. So, speaking of, they have hex-tech weapons and technology, but the best they could do was a couple of turrets that have the slowest reload time imaginable. Where's all the everything? I mean, Jayce literally just, or basically invents Caitlyn's hex-tech rifle almost on a whim, but he can only make one? You can only make one hammer? You can only make one pair of gauntlets? Where's the laser mining thing that Viktor used in Season 1? I'm sure these wooden boats coming to shore wouldn't do well against laser technology that can slice through stone. You showed this in Season 1. Guys, you have gauntlets that can crush boulders, that can create energy force fields. Where is it? Where is everything? Jayce is here. We don't have the excuse before of, well, Jayce is in the future doing his Game of Only up, so, you know, he can't help. Well, he can. He's here. Why isn't he making anything? Why hasn't he made anything? What's going on? I mean, he, of all people, knows the danger. He brought the council together to be like, hey guys, look at what Viktor did. It's all quite scary. Let's maybe do a little bit more preparation. So you have time to build these turrets. And look, it's cool. I like the idea that like basically just blasts shipping containers. Again, we're using the Hexgate and Caitlyn's rifles technology of creating these hex rune gates that blast things out, as you saw right there. It's a great idea, but there should be way more of this going on. And the reason why they don't have that is because they need the enforcers and the Piltover security to lose. Because they suck. Alright? I don't know. Just this whole time, as I was watching this fight, I'm like, how are they losing? How are they losing? Like, this is a beach, basically a quote-unquote beach assault with shields, spears, and crossbows, and you are blasting down on them like the bloody Anzacs in Turkey, and you lose! Ay, caramba! Like, this is again, it's like a bunch of samurai charging against almost like modern military. Like, how do you lose that, guys? What is going on? And then to have it that, oh yeah, these amazing turrets actually take 10 trillion years to reload. That's not a good system, guys. You know this assault is coming. Let's say they have 24 hours to prepare, right? Let's give them like the least amount of time possible, because 24 hours I feel is good, because Ambisa needs to prep her stuff as well. Let's give them 24 hours. Surely, Jayce, you could pump out a couple guns, a couple gauntlets. Surely, brother. We see you just crack them out in between scenes, which happen almost one after another, or that night, right? So, why ain't you doing nothing? Who's this guy on screen that just got hit? I don't know who that is. Loris? Nah, he's far too important to have, like, 0 screen time. They set him up. Like, they set him up in the trailers, that Loris guy, so this can't be him. Oh dear. A little bit cringe. Alrighty. Okay. A biggie. A biggie for a little person. A little Maddie. We have a bit of a biggie for a little Maddie. Okay, so a Noxian agent / spy is able to infiltrate the enforcers and be so good at their job that they are handpicked by Caitlyn to be one of the few members of her task force. That's very lucky. Now, obviously, because Maddie has been chosen for this task force, she can't be fresh blood, right? Caitlyn, for like her leadership, she's in charge almost, and she's like, all right, guys, I need a task force. I need the best of the best. I need people I can trust. Oh, I'm going to get Maddie, who's been on the force for 5 seconds. Can't be the fact. So Maddie must have been part of the enforcers for quite some time to not only build up trust, but build up a bit of a reputation amongst the enforcers of being a actual good enough enforcer to be handpicked by Caitlyn. That's a whole nother thing, because it is kind of bizarre that the handpicked task force are all the people that Vi met just before they were handpicked. Whatever. That's something else. But this is a Noxian agent who is also like the best actor ever. Right? Not only does she act all sweet and innocent and misty-eyed and, oh, Vi, your justice written on your freaking face, like. Not only can she pull that off, but there's that sequence that I put in here where the dolls come down, and she looks genuinely terrified, right? This hard Noxian agent who, when she's about to blast Caitlyn in the back of the neck, has a horrific, monstrous smile as she does it, right? Which I paused on for you folks, of course. What a brilliant actress. Brilliant actress, next level, frankly. Next level. And yeah, it's also the thing of she must have some kind of foreknowledge to get on the good side of Caitlyn, to be what Caitlyn would view as a good enforcer, right? Because let's not forget, not even a week or so ago, when we had an entirely different sheriff, a good enforcer in his eyes was very different to what a good enforcer to Caitlyn would have been, right? So, Maddie would have had to have the foresight that this sheriff is going to skedaddle, so I better do things that Caitlyn likes. So then in future, if she picks a task force, I'm the member of the task force, I can get closer to her, I can build a relationship with her, then I can trick her because I'm a Noxian spy / Noxian agent. Because the other reality of she is a Piltover, she is an enforcer, she was in love with Caitlyn and then decided to sacrifice all of Runeterra because her girlfriend still had feelings for her ex. Nah, that's too unbelievable. Like, it's too crazy. It's impossible. I refuse to believe it. So it has to be a Noxian plant, a Noxian spy, who has been on the side of Noxus the whole time. Surely. But if that's the case, it also leads into the fact that Piltover, what miserable security checks you have, yeah? Like, this random girl shows up in Piltover and goes, "Oi, oi, Gov, I want to be a bloody enforcer, 'cause I like the pub and Brexit and all that too, like." And there's no, like, "Oh, where are you from?" Here? Oh, no one knows you. Yeah, there's no check. There's no where are you from, blah, blah, blah. It's just, yeah, come on aboard. Join the team. Come down to the pub. Quiz night's on tonight. It's a little bit too much. But again, it's as I say, like, it has to be, it can't be the fact that she's just a grumpy, toxic ex, right? Amanda O. Amanda, is she the voice actor or the writer? One of the writers, I can't remember. Said that she's a Noxus plant, but that doesn't make sense either. Yeah, but that's the thing. It's the only thing that can make sense whilst not making sense, right? Because yeah, if she was this sweet, innocent, doe-eyed Piltover enforcer who got into a relationship with her boss, which is a little bit sus, you know. Here's someone with unlimited power above me who is like the leader of the city and a leader of my team who I'm getting into a relationship, whatever. And then for them to get into a relationship and then, yeah, as I said, for her to basically go, nah, I think actually I'm going to sacrifice all of Piltover, all of Zorn, and potentially all of Runeterra to this... To Noxus and to the Robo Legion of Viktor. Like, nah. Like, that is so bad. Like, I don't mean bad as in what a bad person, I mean bad as in, like, bad writing. Like, that is, like, insanity that anyone with a brain would write a character to do that. Like, oh, my girlfriend has eyes for her ex, so I'm gonna literally blow up the planet, right? But yeah, so Amanda O said she's a Noxus plant, but that doesn't make sense either. Yeah, as I said, the unfortunate reality is neither situations make sense. They didn't set that ending up at all. The only times we see potential for that is when you see like Vi enter and is talking to Caitlyn, and then we see Maddie listen. Now, if she's a Noxus plant, easy answer is, well, she's spying. She's listening to the conversation so she can report it to Ambessa. But the show does not portray it like that, especially with Maddie's facial expression. She seems almost concerned, maybe jealous. Like, this is clear, like, the show set it up to be, well, no, she's actually just listening in because she's interested in the conversation. She wants to hear what Caitlyn has to say to Vi, da-da-da-da. It's not one of those things where you see it happen and you go, ooh, why is she doing that? That seems a little bit... You know, if they were trying to plant the seed of, oh, she's actually a spy. Like, it was not framed like that at all. It was framed like, oh, I don't want to leave. Caitlyn's making me leave. I'm going to stick around and listen to what she has to say anyway, because, like, I want to catch her out on something, or blah, 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 blah. Yeah, a little bit rough. And again, if Maddie... this brilliant actress, this doe-eyed, innocent, oh, I'm actually terrified at this Jinx trap, even though I'm a hardened Noxian agent. You could have had some real fun there. Like, let's take that scene that we just had, that I was just talking about. So, Caitlyn and the task force enter into that place where that dude that they interrogate is in, who's, like, allergic to the grey. The dolls drop down and it's that scary, oh, tee-hee-hee, I'm cut, this moment right here, right? Imagine if we saw Caitlyn and maybe Loris freak out, like, not like scared, but like do a little bit of a jump. Like, Caitlyn's like, oh god, and Loris is like, oh my god, OMG, OMG. And then it cuts to Maddie, who's like stone-faced, like zero reaction, unfazed. You know, you have a situation like that where, yeah, like something maybe quite horrific happens, and we see even Steb, stone-faced, no dialogue Steb, have quite a reaction to it, and then it slowly cuts to, or it quickly cuts to Maddie, who doesn't give a shit, who literally is unfazed by it. Like, little things like that, you could be like, oh, well, that's interesting. Who is this doe-eyed innocent woman if something like this doesn't even faze her, right? But we get the opposite. We get the brilliant Oscar-winning actress Maddie, who is genuinely innocent and doe-eyed, and then genuinely scared, and then is suddenly like. Here's another thing as well. If you were a Noxian agent, a spy, and you were placed next to Caitlyn to like infiltrate her inner circle or whatever, and then Ambisa says, hey, Caitlyn should be in charge, and then starts thumping her chest. The Noxian guards start thumping their chest. If you were a Noxian spy, do you think it wise to be one of the first to start thumping their chest as well? Oh, no. That's a little bit sus. You would want to be the, I'm not sure about this type. You'd want to be the Loris reaction. If you want this genuine, I'm trying to fool people into thinking I'm for Piltover, you would have a little bit more layers. You see, when we rewatch that scene, when she starts thumping her chest and doing the Noxian salute, she just, again, it's that thing of, she just looks like this. She doesn't understand what it means. She's so innocent. She doesn't understand that this brutal fascist empire is potentially taking over, right? Something that Loris picks up immediately, which doesn't go anywhere anyway. But you have a few opportunities to set up this fact. But it's not shown, which that opens up the concern of, maybe she was just a dumbass enforcer who got jealous, which is awful. It's so bad. Yeah, and as you say, Diana, Amanda confirmed it, which is chill. It opens up so many more questions, but at least it's something that you can kind of latch onto, which makes more sense than the other potential. Because the other potential is like the most cringe stuff ever. Oh man, yeah, I'm gonna turn all of Runeterra into Robo Jesus's bloody drones because I just love Caitlyn so much. Oh, man. It's a little bit of wasted opportunity here. And look, the whole point of this slide is to be like, look, the enforcers in Piltover have such miserable security that just this Noxian plant can come in and basically be in a romantic relationship with the leader, because Caitlyn becomes the leader of Piltover during this crisis. It all happens too easy, and this character isn't even set up in Season 1. We could have had a single frame of Maddie in Season 1, just to show that she's around, to show that it's all part of the plan, guys. Because that's what I thought it was. I thought Season 1, Season 2, it's all part of the plan, brother. And I just want to make it very, very clear, because for whatever reason, every few days on Reddit, in the fandom, there are people saying, like, Maddie was so innocent when she was the sheriff's daughter in Season 1. Ooh, what? If you weren't aware, which I think 99% of people are aware, this is not, what's his name, Marcus's daughter. Season 2 takes place literally exactly after where Season 1 ends. But the craziness is every few days I see the picture. I see the picture of Ren, I think her name is, the Marcus's daughter, next to Maddie, going, oh my god, look at what this innocent girl has become. Guys, Season 2 starts like the same day Season 1 ends. I don't know where people's heads are at. Truly, I think there is one interesting thing, just while we're on this subject. I know it has nothing to do with Piltover security, but I don't know if I'm the only one that noticed, but it feels like even though the season takes place directly after, some characters feel aged, right? Caitlyn, like Caitlyn episode 3 season 2 feels almost a few years older than Caitlyn at the end of season 1. It seems bizarre. Ekko especially. I find Ekko, especially when it comes to like episode 7 and beyond, feels much older. He feels much older than like the boy wonder from season 1. Both not only visual but like attitude and outlook and everything, really. I don't know, it feels like the animators spent 4 years animating it, but remember, it takes place the next day, so these characters should look the same age. It's just this bizarre thing that I noticed, that I felt as I was watching it. I feel Caitlyn's very noticeable for some reason. Maybe the death of her mother aged her into the matriarch she was always meant to be. I don't know. Just seemed a little bit odd. Felt like Jinx was kind of the only one that didn't have that happen to her. Anyway, what do we have next here? Oh my god, nothing. Okay, so so that's kind of the things I wanted to address when it comes to Piltover. And they're absolutely miserable security. Miserable security. Both Season 1 and Season 2, they suck. And they try to be set up as this big, scary thing, but the reality is that it's the complete opposite of that. They are a bunch of brain-dead buffoons. They can't manage a city. They can't manage a memorial. They can't manage one event. Right? They can't even manage Progress Day. They leave the friggin' Hex, this unannounced, unknown future technology just there. God. Super cringe. So how long? So hour 20. Okay, so I've set up a few little talking points in case the stream didn't go for quite as long as I was hoping for. That's perfectly fine. So let's just jump into a couple of these little points, have a bit of a chat. If you guys, of course, have opinions on them, let me know. I want to make very clear that this is my opinion, my interpretation. We're going to be dealing with, I'll show you the first one, which is just going to annoy particular fans. Let's jump it up. Obviously, this is going to annoy some people. There are a lot of people that absolutely love Jinx. Not like most of us, love Jinx as a character, but just love Jinx. They relate to Jinx. So this might be a bit tough for some people, but we're going to have a talk about it. Alright? Does Jinx, quote-unquote, deserve a happy ending? Now, I put it in quotation marks because it's quite a thing to say, does Jinx deserve a happy ending when she's obviously quite a tragic figure with a fragile mental state? So I put deserve in quotation marks, just to be a little bit lighter. But does Jinx deserve a happy ending? Does she deserve to, as most people believe, and that has been confirmed by people that work on the show, that she actually survived the explosion at the end, and she escapes on the airship and goes somewhere, and let's just say she lives happily ever after. My opinion on the fact, unfortunately, is no, she does not. Sorry. Now, let's, before we get into it, look at some of the evidence for and against, right? Okay. Does she deserve a happy ending? Evidence for. She, from a child, we see even before Silco has any influence, that she has a lot of mental trauma. She has abandonment issues. We see that when Vi leaves her to go save Vander. She's literally in her room, bashing her head, screaming and crying and breaking things, right? This is beyond a kid throwing a tantrum. This is like actual, proper, tragic mental state stuff, right? Then as a child, already with abandonment issues, who saw her parents' dead bodies, that's very, very traumatic for a child, is then adopted by Silco, a real bad guy. I love Silco. He's one of my favourite characters because he's quite a layered villain, but he's a bad guy. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend he's not. He is a horrible person and a horrible influence on a child. So Jinx, for 5 or 6 years, was raised by Silco and did a lot of his dirty work. As she says in multiple lines of dialogue, she invented things, she killed people, she blew things up. That was her job, right? So it's kind of hard to kind of blame her for a lot of that stuff, right? She is a tortured soul. Her mental state is not 100%. So can we potentially blame her for all of the people that she's killed? Well, we'll talk about that when we get to the other evidence, right? But let's say that she gets a pass, at least in regards to, she has to go to prison and face her charges because maybe she doesn't know what she's doing, even though we know through dialogue she does know what she's doing. I'm sorry, but there are lines of dialogue that makes it very clear she knows what she's doing. But for argument's sake, let's say it's a bit beyond her, and instead of prison, she needs to be in some kind of institution. That would be the reality, right? And that would not be a happy ending, unfortunately. Because even if you're a fractured, tortured soul, if you break the law, as in murder people, there's going to be repercussions. Doesn't matter what mental state you're in. That's just the reality of life and the world, right? Now, can Jinx also, again, we're going on the she does deserve a happy ending. A lot of the people that she killed, it's gangland warfare. I've seen that a lot as well, by the way. It's gangland warfare. Can she really be blamed for being part? It's like war. Well, it's not. Gang. It's in the word gang. It's in the word. But anyway, she's following Silco's orders, killing these people, doing these bad things. It's not her fault. When she went to Piltover and stole the Hextech gemstone and murdered those enforcers, well, that actually wasn't Silco's plan. He was very upset by that, wasn't he? It was actually Jinx's scheme to do that. So, we can sit here and go, oh, well, she was doing what Silco wanted and da-da-da-da-da. Sorry, folks. In Season 1, they clearly set up that she does stuff that Silco doesn't want to happen because sometimes she knows for the best. She stole the Hextech gemstone. Brilliant thing for Zorn. Brilliant for Silco to have. And during that, she, again, sets up traps, does graffiti. She sets up a trap to draw enforcers into the burning building. It's the little girl saying, help me, help me, help me. That is not the actions of a unstable, insane person that doesn't know what they're doing. That is the actions of a very lucid individual with a plan. Right? So that kind of goes a bit against the old, well, she's tortured, she's crazy, can we potentially blame... Absolutely. Absolutely, she knew what she was doing. She drew the guards away from where she wanted to go, blew them up, and then stole what she wanted to steal. That takes a level of lucidity that an insane person could not be able to pull off. And I don't want to hear any, oh, well, the Joker from DC comic books. No. Arcane deserves a little bit more respect than what you would give to like a comic book story. And I don't mean that in a way that comic book stories are lame or anything. I love them. I just mean that when you're reading a Batman comic and you see something happen, there's a little bit in your mind that go, well, it's a comic book. It's kind of like when you're watching an anime, Oh, it's an anime. Little things like this can happen. But, when you're watching Arcane, it's like, no, this is a little bit more grounded. We're literally dealing with magic and Warwick and all of this nonsense in Runeterra, but there is an element to it that's very grounded, right? So we give it that. We give when events happen, we give it that scrutiny, because it's not just some silly bloody anime. It's not some Justice League comic book, you know. Season 1 is very intentional when it sets up rules and consequences. That's one of the things I loved about Season 1. There were events, and there were very, very, very severe consequences from those events. Let's remember Episode 3, like one of the best episodes of the show. The consequences of the events and decisions made in that episodes is prevalent throughout the entire show, right? Does Jinx deserve a happy ending? No. No. Let's have a look at some of the crimes, yeah? Just that we see in the show. This isn't stuff that happens off screen. This isn't stuff that we infer because of particular events or lines of dialogue. This is what we've seen. So Jinx is protecting a shipment of shimmer in Season 1 that's protected by that is attacked by firelights, and she kills a couple of them, right? Now, these are Ekko's guys. These are meant to be the good quote-unquote guys down in Zorn. Jinx just blows them up, mate. Jinx shoots that pink-haired lady almost in the back of the head, right? She blows up the two down the bottom, kills the third, the pink-haired lady. So she also blows up 4 firelights and shoots that lady, right? So if we want to go, oh well, she's killing, she's killing Chem Baron people, or all the enforcers deserve it, blah blah blah. Do the firelights deserve it, in your opinion? These people that have gone out of their way to stop a shipment of shimmer, a horrible drug that destroys people in their lives. Do they deserve it? No. No one deserves it throughout the entire show. Nobody deserves to be killed, guys. Let's be completely frank here. So first we've got the firelights. Then, during Progress Day, and then in the very same episode, I believe, we have her, as I said before, set up that trap to draw in as many enforcers as she can to save a child, and blows them up, right? That is several more, that's like 4 to 6 more enforcers killed. And we have lines of dialogue with those, and these aren't just some nameless, well, they are nameless, but we get the nice little scene with like the lady, and she's smoking, and she's like, "Oi, Caitlyn, oi, ain't you coming to the pub after? Shouldn't you be with all the richy people? Oi, Caitlyn." And then like the guy's like, "I'm your typical Brexit geezer." I'm always got, but if you ever get sick of that joke, I'm sorry, but it's gonna happen every time. Every time I see an enforcer, I just think of like, oi, typical Brexit geezer. Do you have a license for that Hextech gemstone? Do you have your Hextech gemstone license? Fuck. Anyway, she offs those enforcers, which frankly they were just guarding a building, you know? These were just folks guarding a place. She draws them out and kills them. Then, oh my, she kills a bird. Oh my god, she shoots that poor crow. Oh, the terror, the horror. Literally the worst thing she could have done. I don't care about the firelights. I don't care about the enforcers. She killed that poor innocent crow that was about to go back to Jericho Swain and have a little chit-chat and say, "Yo, this crazy blue-haired chick, pretty crazy." That is unforgivable. Her doing that, unforgivable. Next we have the big one. Yes, we do. She kills half the council. Caitlyn's mother included. Well, oh my, she nearly kills Viktor. Well, oh my. And this, might you remember, was during one of her most lucid moments in the season. Remember, she's got all the voices. She's got all the voices, all the scratchy animation, like attacking her, holding her down. Vi's screaming at her. Silco's screaming at her. Then Silco grabs the gun. Jinx ends my favourite character, which again is why I love him. Like, his story in season 1 is perfection. She offs Silco, and then it seems in that lucidity, she chooses to be Jinx, not Powder, chooses to be Jinx, shoots the rocket at the council, right? To me, that is the most she has been in control since she was a child, since she was Powder, or at least that we've seen. So, like, it is a decision that she makes. And it is super unfortunate that we get that imagery, that great imagery, of her choosing her seat that says Jinx, I'm going to become Jinx. She does that, and then unfortunately in season 2, they kind of drop all of that, which is... Anyway, so she intentionally butchers half the council. Firelights, enforcers, council members. She shoots, kills some of Cross's crew, which, out of everyone I've said so far, again, nobody deserves to be killed. But that's one of the few that I'm like, wow, who cares? They're Cross's guys, and they are like child labor chem facility people. I'm not going to cry over them. Who cares, But the other people prior, some serious stuff. And again, this is all body count. This is no bueno. And you may have noticed that in her crimes, I haven't included the things that happened when she was a child, because obviously I'm not going to include Clagger and Milo, because that is legitimately an accident. I'm aware. So it's not part of her crimes, yeah? What do we have next? So, Cross's crew... She doesn't kill anyone. I don't believe she kills anyone in Stillwater. I think it's all just like knocking people out. That's fine, but that is a bit of a crime that like a totally insane person who has no control over their actions could never do. Break into Stillwater prison and release a bunch of prisoners. That's very bad. But also, again, you have to be very lucid to come up with that plan and do that plan successfully. What else do we have? I mean, when it comes to like serious stuff, that's really, because a lot of the other things are like off-screen, implied through dialogue, which, as I said, we're not going to be including. We're literally only going to be talking about what we see and can confirm because it is shown to us specifically. And yeah, all of those. Do you think that's like what a good person would do, guys? I know Arcane doesn't deal with good and evil, quote unquote. It plays in the grey, but that's not very grey to me, folks. I'm sorry. That is just the reality. Jinx has, time and time again, intentionally murdered people. Whether or not that takes place during gangland warfare, whether or not you personally have issues with Piltover and the Enforcers and you think, oh, well, they deserve it. That kind of speaks more on you than anything else. But it doesn't matter in this situation. We are talking about the horrible things she has done throughout the story, whether or not that should lead to some form of a happy ending. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In my opinion, and I know it's a little bit like, it's almost a bit of a joke that, Powder blows up Vander, Vander disappears, Vander comes back as Warwick, and then Jinx blows him up again. It's a little bit of a meme, but that is much preferable if we had to go in the same path that we did before. Much preferable that she nobly sacrifices herself to save Vi and to save Vander, because that action also saves Vander from being this mindless drone. To just then go, nah, actually, mid-fall I changed my mind. We also see the destructive capabilities of those grenades, which I've shown off in my videos multiple times. But whatever. And it adds to the frustration that, you know, Vi is so shocked that Jinx has been arrested and then breaks her out of prison. Oh, man. Like, I feel like that we need to have, like, a whole conversation about that. That entire sequence blew my brain apart, and I know I've mentioned it before, but look, I'm sorry, again, if you really love the character, but Jinx is a villain. Jinx has done villainous stuff throughout the entire show. Jinx is a villain in the game. She's a villain. I'm sorry. You can love your villains. I love Silco. I don't think he's a good person. I think Silco's a horrible person. But I love him as a character because he is well written, has great dialogue, has an amazing voice actor. Everything he does and says makes sense. You can like the villain and still think, oh, they're a bad person, you know? Yeah, it seems to me that there's something a little bit muddy going on here, where people for some reason identify with Jinx, and they want her to have this happily ever after ending, which doesn't work, in my opinion. The show, up until the point that they forget about Isha's existence, the show is very clearly leading to that, in my opinion. You introduce Isha, who's like this lens against the voices, you get rid of her, and then Jinx becomes overwhelmed with the voices, with the monsters, with everything. And then just in one act of kindness and nobility towards her sister, she puts an end to it. Little thing actually while I'm on the subject that I'll talk about, because this isn't going to be anytime soon. There's a little bit of work that needs to go into it, but I'm going to do a stream where I talk about all the music from the soundtrack. I talk about the lyrics, what they mean to the story, and then I like do that little rank all the songs. But one of the things I find quite interesting, which actually goes against everything I've just said, in the the Wasteland song, which is the song that plays in the start of episode 9 when she's all depressed and then has like one conversation with Ekko and is perfectly fine. There's a really cool thing they do in the lyrics of that song, where throughout the entire song, the lyrics very much point to the fact that, oh, Jinx wants to end it. Jinx, you know, maybe death is like falling asleep. You know, there's all these little pieces of lyrics that point to that being the reality, that she wants that to happen. But then right at the end, so they have, I think it's like the bridge or the bridge going into the chorus, or the chorus of just let me go, 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 just let me go, in regards to wanting to die. But then, right at the end, it does it again. And the last piece of lyrics are, don't let me go, 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 don't let me go, right? So the song is about, yes, I'm ready, I'm prepared, I want to go, and then there is right at the end the sudden realization, oh, actually, don't let me go, which lines up quite well with the pink streak theory, right? She's ready, then right at the last moment, she's like, actually, no. Don't let me go. So you got like interesting little pieces of lyrics there, which I want to do a whole thing about. But like that's one of the things that is evidence of, yeah, they didn't want her to die at the end in this sacrifice. And I've complained about it before, but I'm really quite sick of, yes, this character, Heimerdinger, he did a noble sacrifice so Ekko could get back. Oh no, Heimerdinger's alive. He's an immortal yordle. It's fine. He's fine. Don't worry. Oh yes, Jinx. Jinx does a noble sacrifice to save Vi and save Vanda. Oh no. Jinx is also alive, guys. Tee-hee. He's fine. Oh, Viktor and Jayce, you know, they're fine as well. They're in the hearts and minds of Jayce and Viktor shippers all around the world. You know, they one after another did, oh, here's this crazy sacrifice, this character's sacrificing their life. And then the creators are like, oh, no, JK, they're actually fine. They did that with every character except Isha. Okay. So Isha is actually dead. Fine. That's fine. Perfectly fine. Yeah. So with Isha gone, things should have gone in an entirely different direction than it actually went in the show, in my opinion. Again, you can't have multiple lines of dialogue and setup of Jinx saying, oh Isha, if you weren't around, I'd be going crazy, I wouldn't know what I'd be doing, da 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 da. And then have a 2-minute sequence of her being very sad, and then a 2-minute sequence that ends in her having a chit-chat with Ekko, and then just coming in and saving the day at the end. What? No. If you want that, fine, but have her be Jinx. I'm sorry, I was looking forward to seeing Jinx in the League of Legends TV show. I was quite looking forward to seeing Jinx. I imagine, obviously it would be quite crazy, because Arcane should be taken a bit more seriously than your average animated thing. But imagine if she entered the final fight as she does in her announcement trailer, right? Like Noxus is assaulting Piltover, and then suddenly there's like 20 missiles just like coming towards all the Noxian guard, and Jinx is on top of one of them riding it, you know? There's so many things you could do, but yeah, look, you just had to be, Jinx is here, ready to save her sister, ready to fight, ready to save Piltover. Why? Well, because the writers need it to happen, so... Ugh. So to answer this question, does Jinx deserve a happy ending? No. I don't think so. And I think the fact that they potentially did do that is very disheartening. Yeah, you want to set up a tragic character, give them a tragic end. Don't make them happy-go-lucky, Yahoo, everything's fine now. I've found my time manipulation boo. Ugh. Alright. Anyway. Next one, which I'm sure will be quite interesting. For anyone that didn't enjoy that part, we have the same question. Does Caitlyn deserve, quote-unquote, a happy ending? Now, this is another thing that's been quite interesting to see in regards to people just kind of talking about the show and what their thoughts are by the end of it. There are a lot of people that look at Caitlyn as a fascist dictator. Well, oh my. So that leads the question, does Caitlyn deserve the happy ending that she gets, or at least, quote-unquote, in my opinion, happy ending, that she gets in the show? I'm sorry, Jinx fans and Caitlyn haters, but yes. Yes, she does. So, in my opinion, ever since they set up the romance between Vi and Caitlyn in Season 1, that's where I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to end with them together. So that's fine. That's expected by me, right? So that isn't some, oh my god, why is she getting this at her end? That I felt was where it was going to go. She also, let's not forget, is manipulated constantly by Ambessa. One of her closest... aside from Vi, one of her closest co-workers is a Noxian plant. So she is being fooled into doing a lot of silly things, right? There is one element which I've talked about a lot, which I completely agree with in regards to what the hell is going on here, is when Caitlyn and Vi happily gas the people of Zorn with the grey, right? So there's a few little things that we want to talk about here. So there are two realities with that. First, they are gassing the general populace, Which I know you're thinking, no way in hell. No way. It's not just unleashing random gas on random people in areas. That would be terrible. Well, unfortunately, the show kind of sets it up that they have to. If you remember when Jinx has made Savika's arm in that arcade, and then the grey spills in and the task force enter. Remember that grey, it spills in from outside, which is open air. It's not coming out of a vent. It's literally spilling in from the open air outdoors, right? So that would mean that area has been gassed with the grey. Does the task force know that there's literally no one in that area hiding, surviving, doing anything? This is Zorn, remember? The lanes, it's not a great place. Of course they don't know that. Of course they don't know. They can't know that. So they're unleashing the grey in this area, in this open air area, because they believe Jinx is in this location. That's pretty bad. That alone is very bad. But let's take a step back and do what most people believe of, no, Media Ghoul, you buffoon. They are only guessing the Chem Baron facilities, right? Great. Do we remember Season 1? The only time we have ever seen a Chem Baron facility, we saw that over half, potentially, of the people that work there are children. Potentially kidnapped by Cross's crew and forced into labour. Right? So even if the task force is purely guessing Chem Baron facilities and Chem Baron run locations, there is every time the possibility that you're guessing innocent, orphaned children who are forced to be there. That's not great. That's not a good look, Caitlyn. Yeah? So you have the two realities, both involve Caitlyn and Vi happily guessing the citizenry of Zorn. That is insane. That alone, I don't care. I don't care about the fascism and the dictatorship that gets thrown around a lot. Let's look at some of the pure and simple facts. You took control of Piltover, and your first action was to gas the citizens of Zorn? Right after you watch a video of your mother, who you are trying to avenge by getting Jinx. In that video, your mother says the people of Zorn deserve to breathe fresh air. So what do you decide to do? Oh, I'm just going to undo all the work that my mother, who I'm trying to avenge, did. What? Now, if the show had fully gone into its Caitlyn's fall from grace storyline that it clearly was wanting to do, that it was clearly setting up in the intro, remember, we get all those shots and frames in the intro of Caitlyn going a little bit balmy. There's literally one right in front of your face right now. For it to just kind of be like, wow, yeah, she was a little bit cray-cray. And she joined with Ambisa, but then she met up with Vi again, and they had a 30-second conversation, and she was like, oh, that beast is your dad? Oh, alright, I'll 180 on the 2 or 3 months of progress and work that me and Ambisa have done. Okay. Yes, very, very dictatorial of you. Caitlyn! So you have this crazy Caitlyn in the first 3 episodes. And you get to the end of episode 3, and you're like, man, there is no coming back from this, Caitlyn. You've done some insane stuff for her to just come back from it. What are we doing, guys? Where did that storyline go? It just gets dropped. Once Caitlyn is back on Vi's team when it comes to Viktor's peace plantation, everything's back to chill. everything's back to chill and groovy. We have the big event happens, and then we split apart. We have episode 7, which doesn't address any of the events, and then we basically move right into the Viktor and Jayce stuff, and then into the assault in the last episode. So, where did that fall from grace go? Like, you set it up so well. You have the stuff in the intro. You have her potentially gassing innocent children to find one person. And then she's just back to, oh cheerio. Oh, cheerio, happy-go-lucky Caitlyn. What? So, to me, had the progression that we were going on from episode 3 led all the way through to episode 9... and then maybe we see Vi and Caitlyn are back together at the end, I'd be shocked. I'd be like, what are we doing? She doesn't deserve this. She's done X, Y, Z, 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 X, Y, Z. But, no. There's just, she loses her mother. She goes a little bit balmy because she lost her mother. Her girlfriend's sister killed her mother. You know, there's going to kind of cause a little bit of a wedge between you two. She gasses some kids. And then she's chill. I don't know what they were thinking with this. If we take episode 1 to 3 Caitlyn, I would agree with people that are shocked by her happy ending. I would agree. I would think, yeah, this is crazy. She doesn't quote unquote deserve this happy ending. But if we look at Caitlyn from episode 4 basically onward, it's whatever. It's whatever. Like, people view her as this, like, fascist dictator. Oh. We have a military checkpoint in Zorn, which, by the way, is taken advantage of by a child. I don't know how many fascist dictatorships you know, but if your soldiers in a fascist dictatorship can be trolled by, like, a 6-year-old, potentially deaf or mute child, you're a bit of a joke. And the average citizen should be able to take advantage of you. Yeah? Alright. A little bit cringe. Ever so slightly cringe. But that's fine. So, answer to this little question. Does Caitlyn deserve a happy ending? If we're talking about episode 1 to 3 Caitlyn, absolutely not. If we're talking about Caitlyn after that, then yeah, why not? Like, she literally goes back to normal, basically, in my opinion. Again, it's the Jinx Ekko thing. Jinx is trying to off herself, and then she has one conversation with Ekko, and then she's fine. Caitlyn is going down this path of tyranny, of making some absolutely wild decisions for the betterment of herself, to have one conversation with Vi and then be back to normal. Pretty weird. Pretty bizarre. Like, these things are meant to be core to their character, right? These things cannot be core to your character if one conversation breaks it. I'm sorry. Jinx is the perfect example. I'm sorry, but after Isha's gone, she should be back to seeing her monsters, seeing this, hearing the voices, doing all of that, doing, like, one of my favourite parts of the show is whenever Jinx has these episodes. You may have seen my videos. I love going through very slowly, pausing and seeing, like, there is so much story and beauty in some of those frames where, like, Milo on the bridge in episode 1 is horrific. It's tragic. But then it leads to her just being like, yeah, I've always got your back, sis. I'm going to save Piltover. Whatever. So yeah, does Caitlyn deserve a happy ending? Yeah, pretty much. I don't have much issue with it, to be frank. What do we have next? The young boy. Alrighty. So, let's talk a little bit about Ekko, shall we? Do we think that Arcane as a show utilised the full potential of Ekko? I don't believe so at all. Alright, so what we know from the show is that Ekko can go back in time like 4 seconds. And that's it. If he goes back any further, things go very, very wrong. Right? Ekko in the lore is known, I believe, as the Boy Wonder, because everything he does is perfect to the people that see him. Right? He has time manipulation by 4 seconds. So Ekko goes to save someone. To the people that are watching him do this, he does it perfectly, without issue, very quickly. Let's say Ekko needs to create a piece of technology. He does it very quickly, without much thought, puts it together, it works perfectly, right? So to the average person watching him do things, he is perfection. He is the best at everything, right? However, in Ekko's POV, as we kind of get a glimpse of at the start of episode 9, it's quite tragic, right? Because he is constantly, for over and over and over again, reliving those 4 seconds, or slowly moving forward second by second using his time manipulation to succeed. Which again, they play with it a little bit, but man oh man, what a thing it would have been to have an entire sequence of Ekko trying and failing over and over again to save someone, to then maybe he finally does, or he realizes he can't, or whatever, right? Like, I love the idea of the imagery of, like, we see as the quote-unquote audience, from the audience's POV, Ekko comes in, saves someone perfectly, he's an amazing hero, OMG, he dodged every bullet, he did this, he's amazing. Then we get Ekko's POV of him failing over and over and over and over again, and it really affects, like, let's say he watches his best friend die, maybe there's someone doing a bit of graffiti who is killed by enforcers who he tries to save over and over and over again. That's a bit of a familiar story, isn't it? Yeah, very underutilized. Like, again, you have this POV of him failing and failing and failing, and you see it affect him. You see it on his face. You see his outlook. Like, it affects him so deeply. But then everyone thinks he's perfect and amazing, and they congratulate him. And oh my God, how did you do that? You're so good. Where we see that he does all of that good through constant pain, torture, and failure. Again, we get the slightest glimpse of that when he's trying to save Jinx. But it is just, you know, they do it a few times and then they clap their fingers and that's done. Whereas the real potential for especially some really emotionally driven storytelling is watching this character who, let's say you have let's say the time manipulation is set up a little bit earlier and makes a lot more sense. And you see him, like, maybe there's an episode where he does a bunch of things and he's amazing and he's perfect. And yeah, you as an audience member are like, wow, how does he do that? That's so incredible. Then we get the POV explaining his time manipulation, and we get to see him do the same event over and over and over and fail and watch his friend die and slowly become more detached and angry and upset and emotional, to then finally succeed, and everyone is celebrating him and thinks he's a great guy, but he's been scarred by the event. You know, you've got a lot of things that you can play with there. And it was a little bit underutilized, and by a little bit, I mean majorly. When I watched in Season 1, Episode 1, that they had Ekko in here, I got super excited. Because it's fun time manipulation. They have very strict rules, as we see in the show. It is only a few seconds. That's all you get. This isn't a time machine. You can't go back to yesterday. You can't go forward in time. You can't go back 30 seconds. You have a few seconds. And that is a fun way to do time manipulation. You have this very strict rule. And you can have such a crazy sequence, man, of him using that time manipulation. But, in my opinion, we just didn't get it. It felt a little bit wasted. You have such a cool thing there that was just, you know, he does it a few times and then he throws his his time machine and whatever. A little bit of a waste there. I was looking forward to some Pretty awesome stuff there. What have we got here? Arcane, League, and the Mel problem. So this is an interesting one. Now, this isn't coming from my personal opinion. This is just from what I've seen. So, personally, I think Mel, especially Season 1 Mel, before she gets magic, is awesome. Love her her design visually, amazing. Love that she's just this, genius politician, super wealthy, super smart, has these schemes and plans and da-da-da-da. So what this is about is it's an interesting thing. So if you didn't know, there was a trailer, which I covered, called Welcome to Noxus Bite Marks, and it involves Mel, along with other people, Caitlyn, Darius, Trundle, etc. Now, I've seen a few videos of some very big, League of Legends streamers and YouTubers that, reacted to that video. And there were a few of them who, when Mel came on screen, they're like, who's this? Who's this person? Why are we spending so... Like they haven't seen Arcane, right? I think that's a reality that we have to realize, is there is, millions upon millions upon tens of millions of people that play League of Legends. So the vast majority of League of Legends players actually haven't seen Arcane, right? And, I'd say there's quite a few people that have watched Arcane that have never played League of Legends. Half the people that I watched the show with don't even know what League of Legends is. They just know it's a video game, right? So that exists as well. So now, basically, with Arcane, they had this, in my opinion, very grounded, real character become this magic-infused being, so then they could be put into the game, which annoys people like me, and I've seen some people complain about it as well, that they did that to that character, even the fact that she survived between seasons, but that's another thing. So you've got Arcane fans that aren't fond of the change. You've got Arcane fans that like Mel and Jayce being in a relationship and are very frustrated that was just absolutely dropped for, frankly, not much reason at all. Oh, Jayce doesn't like Arcane now, and she's Arcane. Oh, how forced. But then on the flip side of that, you have League of Legends players that don't know who she is, don't care who she is. There's already a roster of over 150 League of Legends characters, many, many of which have never been in a cinematic, mind you. And we spend a lot of time with Mel because it makes sense for the Welcome to Noxus. If you're an Arcane fan, Mel, that's the continuation of Mel's story from Arcane. She goes to Noxus and she's hunting down the Black Rose and da-da-da-da-da. However, yeah, you have League players that are like, who is this person? Why are they taking up screen time in the cinematic when I could be seeing Swain or I could be seeing Scion or whomever, from Noxus. Could have had Cassiopeia or Cassiopeia. You've already got his sister Katarina in there, so yeah, it was one of those interesting things, right? Because when I watched the Welcome to Noxus trailer, I was like, oh, cool, Mel. Everybody knows Mel. Everybody knows Mel. The reality is, no, they don't. All they know is that it's an upcoming character. Some of them looked at it as, they're advertising the upcoming champion, instead of it's a continuation of Mel's story from Arcane. So it's this interesting dynamic where basically Riot have put a lot of work into this character to make them relevant for the game. And some people that watch Arcane aren't very fond of that. And then some people that play League don't care. So it's just this bizarre... Yeah, I haven't played League personally in years, so it's not something I care about, that she's going to be in the game. Maybe I'll play the game again one day. I haven't touched it in a long time. So it's not something that I get overly excited by. It just is what it is. But again, it was just an interesting thing that I noticed, that they've kind of put a lot of eggs in the mail basket, which has kind of split things up a bit. Next thing. Okay, the Jayce and Viktor switch. So I think we all know what that's referring to. There is a point in the show where Jayce goes away, comes back, and is almost a whole new kind of person. And Viktor obviously becomes Viktor. Not even Viktor from the game, mind you. Just this bizarre hex, arcane, chaos god. You know, not the technomancer, not the tech prophet. No. He's an arcane boy, born and bred. So, people like me, people that know the lore of the characters, you know, played League of Legends for, like, since the beta, so there gets a point where you're like, oh, I like this character, what's their 3-sentence or 2-paragraph backstory, and you read that. So, ever since Season 1, it's like, oh yay, you know, they've got Viktor as his normal quote-unquote self and Jayce working together. This is going to be amazing. When they split, and Jayce does what he does, and Viktor does what he does, that's going to be very exciting. You know, I was looking forward to that since like an Eastern European sounding guy with a walking stick walked on screen, right? It was like, oh, that's Viktor. That's my boy. And then it's like, oh my god, Jayce is gonna, like, go to his facility and, like, mortally wound him and kill all of his automatons, and that's gonna be insane, and then we actually get to it. And they get punished Jayce, turn him into, like, mild Jayce, doesn't do anything to the automatons yet, like, mortally wounds Viktor and then leaves. Now, the people that I watch the show with, again, especially the people that have no idea what League of Legends is, very confused by all this. They felt that there was no real setup. Viktor goes from, like sure, there's a bit of the intentional change that's going on in Season 1. You know, he's doing shimmer and he's chopping his leg, he's putting runes all on his body and stuff. Like, that's a bit crazy what he's doing. But that's not leading many places in particular, in my opinion. Especially to the place that we lead to. In my opinion, watching the show, Viktor dies Season 1, Episode 1. The second Jayce, like, feeds him to the Hextech core, he's dead. We get the shots of his skeleton multiple times. To me, that is when the Viktor that we know is gone. And then he's replaced by this arcane-infused madman Jesus figure, right? And that individual is guided by Skye, is it? Skye? Who might just literally be this, like, embodiment of the Arcane, might not even be Skye, right? And then is broken-hearted by Jayce, so he becomes the bloody chaos arcane god, whatever he becomes, you know. And I do think that kind of comes out of nowhere. It's one of the things that I feel even people that love Arcane Season 2 and think it's really amazing, I think it's one of the things that even they agree is a little bit rushed. Whether or not they agree that it comes out of nowhere is an entirely different thing, but, you know, I've seen plenty of people that defend the show tooth and nail and just say, well, look, these things are rushed because Netflix forced them to rush it, and it is what it is. Well, the reality on that statement is that the creator of Arcane was not too chuffed by people saying they thought the show was rushed, which to me is either he is defending Netflix, which, if he's still wanting to work with Netflix, is the best thing you can do. You go, no, guys, no. I know you're saying that Netflix ruined your favourite show because they forced us to finish. That's not the case. That's not the case. This is the story we want to tell. Da 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 da. Makes complete sense if that's the play you're going for, if you want to continue working with them. Or the other reality is that he doesn't think it's rushed, and this was the story as it was going to be told from the beginning. But, in my opinion, look, like, the Chem Baron, interwar, the civil war, basically, between the Chem Barons that we get in a music video could have been an entire season. There are many elements to this season, like 1 2-minute section that could be an entire season of work. Black Tiger Paw, I hear a lot of flawed masterpiece and rushed magnum opus. Yeah, the unfortunate reality is for people like me, Season 1, and I'll say it a million times, Season 1 is damn near perfect, even though I've made some complaints about Season 1 in this live stream itself. And then you compare it to Season 2, and where you have Season 1 as the very grounded story that, yes, has a massive time jump at the start, but then focuses right back into these few characters doing a few very important pivotal things that shape Piltover and Zorn and the story moving forward. Then we get to Season 2, and whilst I like the ability to do this, we also have situations where like months go by in the space of a music video, and you're like, gee whiz, there is a lot of character work that is just skipped right on over, so we can get to the point where it's needed to be. They had multiple script rewrites in 2019. Wonder what the original script was. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if we had the original crew from Season 1, those 2 creators who basically wrote every episode, if they worked on the Season 2 screenplay, and then we had a couple other writers come in and go, oh, what about this, what about that? Or we had the Game of Thrones of the writers wrote the script, went on to Reddit, and saw people knew or had called what was going to happen and they change it. I don't know. I don't know what the heck went on there. It took them 4 years to write Season 2, and they forgot everything they set up in Season 1 for a Marvel plot. Also hate Viktor's arc. Yeah, it's just one of the many things that were very rushed, because, again, Viktor's arc, not to the extent that they go in the show, but that is canon. Viktor goes from this mild-mannered, good-intentioned individual into this techno-prophet, right? Like, he wants to help people. He's doing it for what he believes to be this nice, noble thing, but then it turns out it's actually not that great, and he starts actually, like, forcing people to do it, kidnapping people to do it, so he slowly turns into, like, I'm trying to save people, into I'm actually a detriment to these people, and Jayce needs to do, and the what's it called, like, I forget the name of the place they work, but like the university or whatever where they work, they have to kick him out. Like, they literally have to kick him out because he becomes this madman almost. That's what I was waiting to see. And yeah, so 4 years to write Season 2. And yeah, they spent 7 years working on the first season, right? Now, that's not to say it took 7 years to write the script. There was a lot of time in building the 3D models, the environments, and all of that sort of thing, and working on the art style that they wanted to use. That always takes up quite a bit of time when it comes to animation and you're making a new show. But you also, they had 7 years to, like, perfect that script. They had 7 years to ensure it was solid. The show comes out, it is, like, huge, and then they're like, oh, jeepers, we need to work on Season 2, and they get 4 years. Netflix, in my opinion, are the last people to be like, yeah, what, you want $125 million and it's going to take 4 years to come out? Sure. They got very lucky with that, and this is still how it went. And then we want to talk about rushed, yeah? We have so many elements of the season that are incredibly rushed, and then there are so many times where we slow right down and spend way too long on particular sequences. I would have loved Episode 7 if it was episode 7, season 2 of a 5-season television show. You know? I would have loved that. But instead, we have an entire episode dedicated to the Time Bomb ship. And we have an entire episode dedicated to Jayce playing Only Up. Bro, what? Yeah, it's just we have this rushed season, who some of the writers don't think is rushed. And then we waste time. Like, we spend how many minutes on the love scene between Vi and Caitlyn, which was already cut down? What? Again, I was fully ready for that. I was expecting to have that come about. And then it did, and I'm like, yay. And then it kept going, and I'm like, we've got the finale coming up, guys. Why are we... Oh, it's still going. Oh, look at the watch. Oh, it's still going. There were so many occasions like that where it was like, you need to spend time setting other things up, and it's just so many minutes are just wasted on things that is not necessary. So, like, again, episode 7, I would have loved it if it wasn't the third to last episode of Arcane. You know? But it is. That's the reality. It's obvious the grounded plot did not come from Overton or Linky. I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. Apparently the animators got incomplete scripts. That happens often, though, where like you'll have the writers... Well, I say that it shouldn't happen with animation because obviously animation is an entirely different beast. But, you often will have a show as being made whilst the fine-tuning of the dialogue or something like that is happening. Or you've got the actors available, and the actors who are, like, living these characters are like, well, I think this character might do this or might say that. And you as a writer can go, oh, okay, no, interesting, I like that. And then you can kind of change and work on it as you go. That totally fine. But yeah, as we see, it kind of leads to a bit of nonsense. If that is the case, Black Tiger Paw, sorry, I'm not 100% on that. You might be 100%. I just cannot confirm or deny that. But it would make sense. It would make sense. You sometimes get visuals that don't really, and as good as the visuals are, I love the animation. I think the animators did a pretty good job. That kind of don't make sense in regards to the rest of the things that we see and that we hear and dialogue. So it might be the fact that, hey, look, they had like a outline of like, hey, Jayce like goes to the future and plays a game of Only Up and then sees Viktor as the wizard, and they're like, okay, and then they make like 25 minutes of that, and the writer's like, oh shit, okay, well, we better, whatever. It's obviously that the grounded plot did not come from Overton. Yeah. And like the season 1 plotline as well. It's like, as I mentioned before, you've got not only this grounded story in this fantasy world, but you have such relatable characters that they set up brilliantly. Like, again, I remember the first time watching from episode 1 to 3. Like the first time I ever saw Arcane, I was like, this is just some dumb bloody League of Legends show. I'm not even going to watch this. And then I watch episode 1 and I'm like, oh, okay. We've got young Vi, we've got young Jinx. Interesting. I don't know what a Milo or Clagger is, but, we'll see. And then, like, by the time episode 3 rolls around, so within, like, less than 3 hours, or maybe, what's it, 40? Yeah, 2 hours. It is, like, the most tragic thing imaginable. And, like, it's the last thing you want to see to these characters that they just introduced, who normally children in shows are the most annoying thing in the world. But, yeah, they killed it. And then season 2 killed it, if you know what I'm talking about. I wanted my sexy cyborg, not a squid. Yeah, dude. Absolutely. His design and his story is so cool. And it makes sense in Piltover, the city of technology and progress, that someone like this would roll about. But it also comes to that thing of like, look, I really, and like I've said it before, but it's just Riot wanted to sell some skins, so they put it in the show. I know the quote. We sell skins so we can make Arcane, not the other way round. Then explain this. Explain what you did to Warwick. Explain what you did to Viktor. Why do they look like this? Why did you have to change their entire look? Oh, so we can have some new characters for TFT. Oh, great. Excellent. Yeah, no. BS, mate. Absolute BS. I completely agree. I mean, I played Viktor a little bit. You know, he's a cool character. And the Viktor and Jayce relationship, I was so looking forward to seeing that actually break down and go somewhere. But it goes from, you know, these are two professionals with two very different ideologies going in two very separate paths to, oh, we have a bit of a misunderstanding, but we're good, boo. What? I don't know. I'm not really in on that. I'll be completely frank. The Academy. Yes, sorry, the Academy. Correct. Stanwyck Pidley stole Blitzcrank. Yeah, in the original lore. Yeah. And they have him they have him in the show and say, well, he didn't actually invent friggin' anything. My Blitzcrank is my main. I'm a pull machine, right? I love like any character, like Marvel. Marvel Rivals. I like to play Winter Soldier because he has a pull, right? Like, I love me pull characters, and they're basically saying Blitzcrank is nothing and didn't work. My feelings have been hurt. Cannot believe it. Absolute nonsensity. Way too much time was wasted on Isha and the commune. By the way, Jayce was never discovered to have killed Vander by killing Viktor. Imagine Vi confronting him over that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like, because it was one of those things of, like, I really like the idea of Isha. The emotional manipulation hit me really hard. So I like Jinx a lot. I like Vander a lot. So their little manipulation really hit me the first time I watched it. And it's just super unfortunate because you either put more time into Isha and the consequences of her sacrifice, or you drop them completely. Like, that is just how it is, unfortunately. You either spend that time developing it and making the consequence of her not being around anymore super serious and super pivotal to these characters, or you drop the character completely. Because again, you're wasting screen time on a rushed season. You know, what are we doing? And Jayce never discovered having killed Vander by killing Viktor. Yeah, there's a few situations like that, right? But, you know, we've seen the season, mate. We know what would happen. It would be another Caitlyn Jinx situation. Oh, Jayce, you inadvertently killed Vander, like Jinx quote intentionally killed Caitlyn's mother. Oh, well, you did something good, so I'm gonna forgive you and everything will be fine. That's how the show would deal with it, mate. So it's probably best that we didn't get that, to be completely honest, because it would have just been disappointing. Vi would have been like, yeah, I get it, Jayce. I get it. And then we would have moved on. Very cringe. Very cringe, very unfortunate. The concept art of Viktor was way cooler. He doesn't have the stupid mouth, and he still has his short hair. Yeah. But the reality is, as you have said, and I have said, is that he has a great design anyway. Why change it? We didn't even get to see it. So why change it, you know? And it makes sense for the type of story that he goes down. It makes sense for the type of character that he is, that he becomes. Especially moving forward in regards to, like, the automatons in Zorn and Piltover. So none of that is set up at all, and this is canon now. Jenkins, Batman. Ash, I don't know what this live stream is about, but Mel and Jayce voice lines for the greatest game in history, aka League. Yes, no, I did. I did see some of those voice lines. I listened to, at least it was like a YouTube short that went over some of the interactions between the characters. Interesting that you've popped in now. We were literally just talking about. So it's I called it the Arcane League Mel problem. Of you have like Arcane fans who aren't too chuffed about where the Mel storyline went, and then you have League of Legends players who have no idea who she is and don't really care. So it's just like this interesting dynamic that I'd seen going on the online spectrum. Blackpaw, now we only got shipping bait and cosmic genocide because Mage Viktor can't let a kid die. Doody. Don't even get me started. Alright, so Viktor, my boy, you want to go back, use your timey-wimey magically magic that you somehow got from Rise or something to go, and you're constantly giving child Jayce different runes to see if there's a different response or a different future. My brother, don't save Jayce. If your intention is to stop the end of Runeterra by your own hand, don't save the kid. Very simple. Just leave him. Leave him in the snowstorm, and then none of this happens. Story over. Yeah, this is the trouble when you introduce timey-wimey nonsense like this, yeah? You have the most obvious answer. Oh no, Viktor would never do that. He's literally mid taking over the entire Runeterra, changing everybody into mindless drones. Don't give me that Viktor would never, right? This Viktor, who has foreseen what's going to happen, absolutely would. And it is silly. Absolutely silly. It was the first thing I thought when I saw it. I was like, just don't save him. It's you've got an easy W there, my brother. Don't save him. The story never happens. And then you can say Arcane isn't canon. This is just the story that happened. And yeah, the shipping bait. Look, if I was into shipping, if I was like a time bomb shipper or something, I would be spewing. Or if I was a JVic shipper, I'd be spewing at this show, right? Because they have the ship bait and their cake too. They put the shipping imagery for the shippers, but then they don't actually confirm anything. I would be like, they're basically taking advantage of you for analytics. I would be so frustrated by that. Like, if you like Arcane, if you want to ship two characters, fine, do it then. Put them in a relationship. If you want to actually ship Jayce and Viktor, put them in a relationship. Do it. Don't pussyfoot around and give silly... Don't put Jayce in one relationship, have Skye interested in Viktor, and then go, oh, maybe they kissed at the... Like, that's just bait. And honestly, if you're a shipper, you should feel taken advantage of, because that's absolute nonsense. You either do it or you don't. Super simple. Super simple. And it's better written than Season 2. Ash, if you're talking about the lore of League of Legends, completely agree. There's some awesome stories in League of Legends. Can't wait for them to actually see them if they were ever going to actually develop that lore and some of those stories and some of the events in the 10,000 year timeline of Runeterra. Yeah, it'll be fantastic. And you know, if we're going to Noxus, we could get a bit of Darius tragedy. Oh, that would be sad. But if you're just saying like Season 1 was better written, then yeah, completely agree. Jayce has more love for Mel in the new League of Legends voice lines than he did it. Oh, dude. And like, it's just that cringe thing of, oh, he went and played his game of Only Up and now he doesn't like the Arcane anymore. And, oh, Mel, you're swimming in the Arcane, babes. I can't... Yeah, it's just... yeah. And for anyone that were actually like, I like Mel and Jayce's relationship, bro, like, it just disappears. It's just thrown into the bin. For why? For reasons that you writers created. That's why. Silly. Just silly, man. And yeah, it goes to that ship bait thing, right? Like, they couldn't properly ship Jayce if they were in a relationship still, so we got to break them up. So, ooh, look at again, if you were a shipper, I'd be pissed because you either put them in a relationship or don't. Like, seriously, don't play around with this kind of stuff. It's just wasted frames, man. Goodness me. I'm not over Jayce's reaction to Mel asking him what happened with the Walking Dead stuff. Stuff things response. The Walking Dead. Not entirely sure what that is in reference to. Sorry, Black Tiger, I'm not 100% sure what The Walking Dead is in reference to. I must have missed the scene where they watch 27 seasons and 58 spin-offs of The Walking Dead TV show. Floors me how there are videos talking about how he's a great villain when he barely lasts an episode. And, well, that's the sad thing, my bro. He could have been a great villain. He could have been a great villain that we sympathized with. You know, if he had gone down that techno-profit healer route, right? And we saw him, you know, not corrupting people into these friggin' drones, but actually saving sick people. And then we slowly see him maybe start kidnapping people that don't want to be saved and making them automatons. We start going down that little bit more of a shaky ground. But no, it's just, you know, I'm a good guy, then, what have you done, Jayce, to, I'm Jesus now, to, oh, I see everything, I know everything, but, oh, my God, I did not know that imperfections are actually okay. Like, dude, like, they have this big display of him. Oh, I'm this big god, I see all, I know all, but oh, I was unaware that imperfections might be cool. Ish. Little bit cringe. The League of Legends intern liked Jayce and Mel more than the Arcane writers. Oh, straight up. Well, that's because there was an actual relationship that you can build off, you know? Because it was a layered relationship. Like, yeah, Jayce and Mel were together, but was Mel playing Jayce, you know? Was Jayce just like a pawn in Mel's game? Like, we just drop all of that because she becomes magical Mel mummy and just like does this light magic. She goes from a grounded, interesting character with interesting relationships to I've got magic now because I need to be in TFT and I need to be in the game. Not great. Yeah, Rise straight up. Because Rise knows the dangers of this kind of thing, would just let Jayce freeze, exactly, yeah. Yeah, because Rise is old. He's seen what happens to all this, like, with all this stuff, so, yeah, but then Viktor, all-knowing, wizard, time manipulation Viktor, a little bit silly. And it all just adds to this feeling that it's rushed. In my opinion, there's elements that are just bad writing that can be interpreted as, you know, this is very rushed. When, yeah, I'm sorry, but the reality is that it's just some piss poor writing, which is unfortunate coming from a season of excellent writing. Excellent writing. Future Viktor ruined a lot. Yeah. The timey-wimey nonsense. It opens a million holes. A million holes. Why didn't timey-wimey wizard go back and stop Jayce from feeding Viktor to the Hextech core? Why didn't wizard Viktor go and stop himself from the first time he tried to, like, you know, do the shimmer and stuff? Why didn't he stop Viktor from getting his blood in there, the Hextech? There's just, yeah, I'm sorry. But if you're trying to stop yourself from doing crazy stuff, go back in time and end yourself. Don't save Jayce. There's a lot of things we could do. And it made a lot more sense pre-season 2 when people were like, who's this wizard? Is it Rise, except he's not blue for some reason? Or is this a League of Legends summoner who is the quote-unquote player in League of Legends who summons these characters throughout history to play these games? That, you know, they went from, oh, that's a little interesting, to, oh, okay, it's time. Okay. What's funny is that Mage Viktor's Jayce is still alive. He's stuck in that statue and Jayce still did the job. Well, it's interesting too, isn't it? Because we have timey-wimey Wizard Viktor. What happened to him when Viktor and Jayce went into the gem? Like, sucked themselves into the gem, or into whatever reality that they're in now, or whatever. Like, what happens? What? Again, you're doing this time stuff that makes no sense, because we see what's... I don't know. Like, I don't even want to begin to explain what happens at the end of the show. Yeah, it's just, we need it to end, so here's the end. Like, that's just what it felt like, which is super unfortunate. I didn't mind J-Vic, but I hate the toxicity and the fact that he killed them for no reason. I'm the same. As I said before, if you want to do time bomb shipping, if you want to do J-Vic shipping, just do it, you know? And make it make sense. Make it an important and deep relationship, which they could have done. They could have built up this professional relationship, this brotherhood relationship, and, you know, maybe things happen. Ooh. But yeah, it's just that thing of, if you're going to go that path, just go down that path. Have the balls to do it. Don't just have this constant shipping bait just for like a couple hundred people on Reddit to boost your analytics. It's yeah, they did it in Rings of Power with Galadriel and Sauron. Dude! Except that's the example of them basically almost going full bore with it, and it became very cringe. Very cringe. They didn't have enough time for all that, only 2 episodes left. But then that just goes into the entirety of how the season was crafted. The writers know, you have to finish the story in 1 season. Okay, well, let's spend a whole season in an alternate universe that doesn't really have much impact in regards to the story, apart from Ekko gets his power, Jayce deals with the timey-wimey man. Like, you spend waste a whole episode on something, as I said, that would be nice if it wasn't the 3rd to last episode of Season 2. I feel there is a lot of bloat in Arc 1, and there is a lot of bloat in Arc 2. And all of that bloat, especially the Warwick Vander stuff, which I loved, goes nowhere. So you just have all of this waste. All of this stuff that's, you know, you got a nice song, you make people like me go, oh, boo-hoo, oh, Vander, boo-hoo, which I did, because I love that stuff. And then it's just dropped and you moved on. And it's like, well, why did we even do that? Why did we spend time with Isha for the sacrifice to mean nothing? Why did we spend this time with Vander and Warwick for it to literally go nowhere? It's just the way they've crafted it. It almost feels like you have different writers writing each arc and they don't talk to each other, and they're like, oh, maybe I'll chuck in this line of dialogue for this, that, or whatever. It's an old meme where Rick goes stuff things. So it's like a Walking Dead meme. Okay, I gotcha. I'll evolve people by making them mindless dolls. Yeah, literally, like, oh, everyone's perfect now because they have no self-control or nothing. Like, that is not Viktor. That's why I say that the Viktor that we know died Season 2, Episode 1, right at the start. He's dead. Jayce feeds him to the Hextech core, Viktor dies. And then what we have next is this bizarre amalgamation of the Arcane and Viktor's consciousness or whatever. Because, like, his destination in Season 2 and the road he goes on in Season 1 are not the same at all. It's almost like Jayce is more set up to go down that path than Viktor is. Like, we have people that have made videos, edits of like Viktor going, "There's always a choice," and then techno Arcane Viktor go, "The choice is false," and it's like, ooh, look at what they did here. It's like, no, that's a pretty bad, it's a pretty bad example, because we're going from a core characteristic that Viktor has to, I don't care, I think I know for the best. It's a little bit shaky for me. Jayce's frat boy speeches still pisses me off. Why would you tell a man with with a terminal relationship that it's an imperfection? Or like the disease or whatever. Yeah. It's kind of funny. Jayce pulls an Ambisa, which is so funny because Ambisa is lying to take control and Jayce is like being honest to take control, but it's the exact same thing where like Ambisa is attacked by the Black Rose and then she gets that meeting with everybody and she's like, "Hey guys, some assassins from Zorn, they came and attacked me, but I dealt with it, but you know, we need to get some extra security here, guys. This is really bad." And then at the end of the season, Jayce does the exact same thing of like, "Hey guys, Viktor attacked, and you know, we need to get some serious security around here." And it's like, you guys had the people of Piltover had the exact same thing happen not months ago, and Ambisa tried to take over Piltover by doing that, and you guys are just like, "Oh, it happened again? Oh well, Jayce is a smart guy. You know, we'll go." It's poetry, guys. It rhymes. Cringe rhymes with cringe. Who gave Viktor the vision? Future Viktor. Maybe the Arcane. You know, if they wanted to go down that path of like the Arcane is actually doing some like because they have the tech. Rune version of the Arcane throughout season 1, like slowly form into almost this more organic looking thing. They could have gone down some path of like absolute power corrupts absolutely. Was maybe one thing that they were going down with, that, you know, like the Arcane there's some clear reference to like nuclear technology throughout human history there as well. So there's some very basic ideas that they're going down with it. Whether or not that kind of works is a bit up for debate, though. Alrighty. And yeah, like the visions and stuff like that. It's like does when Viktor is back in time watching Wizard Viktor talk to Jayce, like does Wizard Viktor see Viktor like what are we, where are we, why should I care? Why is this grounded interesting story turned into different dimensions and timey-wimey? Like, if you want that stuff, you have characters in the canon, in the lore that you can pull from if you really want to go down that path. But yeah, wasn't for me. Never thought about what happens to Mage Viktor once the original Jayce Viktor die. Is he still alive? Thanks, I hate it. Yeah, but that's the trouble. We're dealing with time, you know? So when Wizard Viktor succeeds and the timeline continues and Jayce and Viktor like either die or go into this alternate reality within the gem or whatever happens, how can that Wizard Viktor then continue to come back? It's the broken loop. It doesn't work. That's why you don't want to introduce ideas like this into your show, because it can be poked apart so easily. Even in the world of Runeterra, where there is magic and there's the void and there are gods, and literally the night sky is Aurelian's soul, which is like a massive dragon entity god. But like you have all this craziness, but you want to tell this grounded, focused story, and then you pull it all the way back to do some timey-wimey nonsense, which just breaks everything apart. It causes more issues than it solves, which is pretty bad writing. Saw on 4chan that Kate Vi was official and they bombed it, but Jayce and Viktor were more romantic and unintentional. Lamau. Oh yeah, I mean, like, Kate Vi, they, in regards to that, it's like, obviously, that's like the ship that they go for. It's set up in season 1, and it makes sense to me, because they do the setup. The relationship works. You have the dynamic of, like Vi and Caitlyn are two very, very different people who complement each other. So that completely makes sense, and that's one of the examples of there's a ship that they went full bore on, and they get a nice little happy ending, even though Vi often says very cringe things to Caitlyn, but that's fine. Nobody's perfect. They wasted way too much time with the Arcane Void plot. Absolutely. Like, that's half an episode. Half an entire half of the third to last episode in Arcane is spent on that. And like, when I was first watching, there's even I do like a in one of my breakdowns, I do like well, here's all the theories that I had because the show's finished. I had a bunch of theories from like the end of episode 3. One of them was like Jayce, Ekko, and Heimerdinger are sent to like the void, right? And, when we see Jayce again and he's all messed up and he kills Salo, I'm like, man, like what if they've been in the void, like, surviving day in, day out against the horrors of the void, and, like, Heimerdinger, like, time works differently there, and Heimerdinger goes from this, like, arcane hex tech fearing guy to, like, the arcane obsessive that he is more in the game. But nah, they just, like, Ekko and Heimerdinger just went to the nice place. They went to chill land, which opens up a million things. So Heimerdinger takes over that universe's Heimerdinger, takes over his body, kills him, because he sacrifices himself, which isn't himself, it's another Heimerdinger, whilst introducing hex tech into this reality, which is such a nice, happy, dandy place, and everyone gets along because of a few events, including the fact that Hextech doesn't exist. And oh, I'm so scared of Hextech. Heimerdinger takes over Heimerdinger's body, kills that Heimerdinger, introduces Hextech into the world. Unreal. Who is this person? Seriously, that's not Heimerdinger, bud. That ain't Heimerdinger. My God. And again, it's one of those things of, if they had more seasons, they could have XYZ. Of course. But, I'm just not hot on the direction that they went. Viktor should have been, of course you have a choice, but you'll have to choose my future if you want one. Something about taking away the need for choice, because sometimes people make the wrong choice, or something. I don't know, something that feeds more into his character from season 1. Like, I thought there was a choice, but I know that the choice is wrong, or something. I don't know. I'm not a writer. I'm not getting paid to write this, so I don't know. Instead of actually fixing and improving Hex tech, Jayce decides to destroy it by using an arcane corrupted hammer and making Kate's railgun. Yeah. And it's funny because, especially Arc 1 Jayce is kind of turned into a bit of a buffoon, turned into a bit of an idiot. And like, there's a thing like they go to the Hex gate core, and Ekko's like, oh, so if it blows up, you've put it in my neighborhood and not yours. And like, Jay's like, oh, it's actually a few miles away from the lanes. Actually, like there's a lot of environmentalism messaging, which is the most, like, super on the nose as well. It's not subtle in the slightest, the environmental messaging in the show. Which obviously you can put that messaging in whatever, but, at least be a little bit subtle in a show that used to be really well written, Goodness me. And yeah, it is funny to me, right? Because that's a great point. You know, you come from this corrupted place, and you take this corrupted hammer, which is infused with this corrupted cause Arcane. It even, like, the animators show that the corrupted core, or the anomaly, has a very specific art style and design. It's got like the pokey hold color design when it comes to energy and flashes and impact frames. They intentionally use the same design for whenever Jayce uses his new hammer. It goes from like this blue and black hex tech design in the impact frames to these like more color vibrant spiky hold designs with the energy. And there isn't a moment where that's a bit sus. Like, dude, I know you just had Wizard Viktor go, my brother in Christ, take this gemstone, my brother in... I don't know why he's South African now, but take this gemstone with you back into the past, and it'll fix all of your problems. That's what Wizard Viktor, he's become South African, I don't know why. But, yeah, there isn't a moment where you're like, I'm being tricked by the Arcane, or I'm being tricked by the anomaly to bring this technology. Yeah, there isn't a moment of sus when there really could be. You could have a bit of sus in there, but yeah, who cares? Rise would have shut that shit down as soon as he saw. Absolutely. There are many characters in Runeterra that would be on top of this kind of thing. That is the unfortunate reality when you design a story like Arcane in League of Legends, where you have over 150 very powerful characters, some of which have full control over magic, some of which are incredibly powerful beings that hate the Arcane or hate magic. Yeah, you've got little bit, guys, you know, you want to make it, like, you went as far as to say, oh yes, Arcane is canon. How can Arcane possibly be canon, guys? Jayce and Viktor are gone, but you can play them in the game. How is this possibly... Heimerdinger is gone. I know, he's immortal, blah, 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 but he's gone. The worst thing they did was make this canon, because at the very least, any issues that I have in regards to clashing lore and characters not doing what they should be doing is the idea of, well, this is just another story in an alternate universe with the same characters. They can do whatever they want. You know, doesn't matter. But unfortunately, everything we saw in Arcane is canon to League of Legends now. Isn't that wonderful? Don't you guys just love that? In all timelines, in all possibilities, except the one where Vi dies, I know, bro. That is the funniest thing in the world. So in my failed characters breakdown, I point this out because it's like, let's actually look at the differences that we see. Because the reality is that alternate universe had to have the same, if not incredibly similar history to what we see up until the first episode of Arcane. Viktor and Silco, they attack the bridge. There's the Zornite uprising. Vi and Powder's parents are killed during that uprising, so Vander adopts them. Silco and Vander have a falling out, and then they ruin Silco's character by making him forgive or whatever. That killed me, but we're not talking about that. So that history had to be there. The only real changes that we can see is A, the big one, Hex Tech is not invented. B, another big one is that Heimerdinger has been there for over 1,000 days. Our Heimerdinger, who is aware of everything that's wrong in Zorn. So for 1,000 days, or a few years, he's been enacting policy and rules and being more, open to the people of Zorn, giving them more resources, helping them out. So those are two huge ones, right? But yeah, the third reality is that Vi dies. What a cringe, awful thing to... Because, again, the history has to be the same. There's a line of dialogue where Clagger is trying to, with the plant thing, and he's talking to Powder, and he's like, look, the soil and the water is still toxic, nothing can grow, and the air is still quite toxic, nothing can grow. So it's not like Zorn had this nice, peaceful history. No. The reality is that the history's the same up until that branching point that we see, and they make very clear in the episode, is the butterfly, is the branching point off. And my God. Yeah, bro. The world's fantastic in all timelines and all possibilities. See, why didn't Wizard Viktor go and kill Vi? Everything would be fine. Oh, man. Oh, dear. They totally forgot the Hex Gates pollution plot and Ekko's tree. Bro, what happened to Ekko's tree? How much symbolism that had, especially when it comes to their environmentalism messaging. How much time they spent in that place, we never see it. Or maybe we get a shot of it, doesn't matter. Is it fixed? Is it healed? Oh, I don't know. Ekko certainly doesn't seem to care, so whatever. Yeah, a little bit, where's your priorities, cuz? And it means the corruption would be all over Zorn and not just the tree. Yeah, it would be in the ocean, mate. Like, it would be in the air, it would be in the soil, it would be in the ocean. And it's interesting as well because, again, we literally have the minor subplot in the season 2 of Caitlyn's mother building this massive network of like chambers and ventilation and all of this to try and aid the air quality of Zorn. So you have this minor plot detail which is covered in like 2 lines of dialogue and some imagery of them dealing with that. Dealing with the repercussions of, the industrialization of the area. But they're just like, well, who cares? Moving on. We dealt with that already with Caitlyn's mum, so you guys can infer. Alright. Jayce also has arcane corrupted flesh, and Mel never... Yes, he does, and that also goes nowhere. That gem, like, not only is his leg, right, all messed up with that icky-bicky arcane ickiness, but also, and I find it very interesting that it's kind of completely dropped, but there are multiple impact frames when Jayce gets the gem like sinks into his skin. And, if you've seen my impact frame videos, you'll see that, like, there's these, like, black, strands going up his arm as if it's, like, infecting him, like this gem is infecting him, so but it's fine because the gem's actually good and it's another one of the many things that they have some cool imagery about, but then it's like, well, where does that go? It's cool imagery that his legs all Mickey Dicky Dickery dude, but it doesn't mean anything. It literally means it's just some cool imagery. What was the point? Also, how the hell did the gemstone become activated in the arcane plane when it didn't the first time? Yeah, and it's also that brings up another point of, like, when I did my analysing every frame thing, why did the anomaly send, like, because it very much seemed like the anomaly sent Jayce into the future where the anomaly still exists. But with Heimerdinger and Ekko, it sent them to a place where not only does the anomaly not exist, unless we're saying it exists in the future, because Heimerdinger is a bastard that introduced Hextech to this peaceful world, or it just sent them to this random place that just, out of the infinite possibilities, was this particular place. I do much prefer that this anomaly was able to split these people out because it was splitting them out over realities where the anomaly exists, because there is so much. There's even one, the flash frame after the screenshot of Viktor there is the anomaly splitting into almost like an infinity line of different anomalies. And that just makes me think, okay, well, that's how it works. You have all these realities with Hextech and the anomaly, and somehow it's able to just shift you out between these different places where this thing exists, except for episode 7. So whatever. And yeah, look, in regards to the gemstone becoming activated, I don't know. I cannot answer that for you, my friend. I'm so sorry. Piltover was also founded to... Yeah, 100%. Piltover was also founded to escape mages. Let's destroy Hextech to make us vulnerable to mages, especially those from Noxus. 1,000,000,000,000%. Piltover was made to escape the wars and the horrible, nasty, nasty nature. Oh, I got a little... Nick, thank you for subscribing. Sorry, I didn't notice that. I didn't know if little things popped up like that. My apologies. Thank you very much for that, though. Yeah, so this city founded to not only escape the wars and the nonsense of magic and mages, but they also needed to be a city that could withstand them, yeah? Now, Piltover and Zorn, before they were even Piltover and Zorn, have a long line of history and some very horrific events when it comes to magic users wanting to take over the bloody world, right? So here's a city that was created to not only be away from, but withstand magic users who can just, like, flick their fingers and destroy a city if they really wanted to. And yet... Even prior to that, even prior to Hextech, they needed to be able to withstand, have the necessary security, the necessary... Hey, there's the segue back into Piltover and having terrible security. They needed to have the capabilities to withstand that. Once they get Hextech, they have even better capabilities to withstand that. And as you say, destroy it, get rid of it. It's bad. Okay. Again, if we're going for the nuclear technology route, the atomic bomb route of what, you know, Viktor and Jayce in season 1, that was like kind of what they were going with. It's like the nuclear armed race between the US and Russia. The US makes like 1,000 nukes, Russia makes 1,000 nukes, and then the US are like, actually, we're going to get rid of all of our nukes. Russia, you can keep them. We're going to get rid of them because, they're so bad. That's not how you run a civilization, man. Play Civ. God damn. Be nuclear war, thermonuclear war Gandhi, mate. Come on. They couldn't even get the multiverse theory right. Butterfly effect suggests even one choice alters the timeline. Why is it exactly the same every time? Absolutely. They're wanting to go with that little butterfly. Oh, this one event here affected the timeline moving forward. How do we have the same history? You know? Because if you go like that, Vi and Powder might not exist. Vi's parents may not have ever met. You know? Like... You can't, it's that having your cake and eating it too. You can't have, oh, how interesting, this one little thing changed so much, and this and that and the other, and then go, well, what happened a year prior to that? Or what happened 10 years prior to that? Or what happened 10,000 years ago? Because the timeline covers a lot. So, yeah, it's unfortunate because... I don't like to poke and prod, but the trouble is when you write things like this, it just opens up the gates for that poking and for that prodding, and it's no bueno. In my humble opinion, it is no bueno. Just changing something slightly on my end. There we go. Yeah, it's a little bit much, and it opens up too many holes. And we're dealing with Arcane. There shouldn't be holes, man. Season 1 was just chef's kiss. You know, the holes in season 1 was so... It was like things that I mentioned in the start of the stream of just like, well, Piltover security sucks and the enforcers are lame, but everything else is amazing, right? And then you get to season 2 and it's like, from episode 1, there's like, oh, that's a bit odd. Why are you doing that? Oh, this character wouldn't do that. It's a little bit cringe. They dropped the police brutality, environmentalism, and transhumanism subplot for Marvel. Absolutely. And it even... They even drop the police brutality... Again, we go all the way back to the first scene of season 1, the opening sequence. The enforcers are made to look horrific. Yes, it's the POV of Vi and Powder, but they're made to look scary and intimidating, and my god, it's just a force we cannot possibly stand up against. And if we even try, they're going to push us into the dirt, you know? That's the setup. But then, scene after scene, some in season 1, many times in season 2, it's like, well, actually, the enforcers are idiots. Like, they're a bunch of buffoons. Zorn, you must suck. Like, Zorn must be a bunch of even stupider people if they can't stand up against how pathetic the security of Piltover is and the enforcers are. And then it's almost like they have to do that the lame thing of, oh well, the enforcers are extra brutal now because Noxus is here and Noxus are bad. When it's like, nah man, you could have a very interesting plot line in regards to that, and they almost tried to do that with Caitlyn, but again, Caitlyn's out there gassing bloody kids, and Vi is more than happy to help her with that. Even defend that same thing to Jinx. Like, oh, you guys are going around unleashing the grey on people, and then Vi's like, yeah, well, you know, at least I'm not crazy. Yeah, it's better than orphaning them or whatever she says. Yeah, we'll just gas them instead. How excellent. God. And then, yeah, the environmentalism, transhumanism. Yeah, it's just like, we need this big, exciting finale. And, you know, if you want to kind of like, if you want to turn your brain off and just watch like some really cool visuals, then they achieved that. You know, but Arcane was always a lot more than some cool visuals and some nice music, you know, like every department hit the nail on the head, in my opinion. And then it just, season 2 kind of becomes this, well, at least for me at least, like, well, at least the animation is really high quality and the soundtrack's pretty darn good. Anomaly Inception. It doesn't exist in Ep 7 until Ekko creates it. It exists in Mage Viktor's world and allegedly disappears after Jayce and Viktor divide by 0. Yeah, so that's also something that I point out in my analysing every frame scene. I show once the time machine is created, there is, jeepers, maybe 2 or 3 flash, like, impact frames that show the anomaly burst out around the time machine. And then we get, when he uses his 4-second time machine, there's many impact frames that show the anomaly. So yeah, that's why I'd mentioned before that the reality we have to face is that Heimerdinger introduced Hex Tech into this perfect world that was so happy without it, and it will lead to the anomaly being created. So, dude, Heimerdinger, you suck. Literally, brother. And, like, all they did was put the line of dialogue of, oh, you know, I let one student down before, I'm not going to let that happen again. My brother, Heimerdinger, I think it's worth letting your student down if it means not introducing this horrific, terrifying thing into this happy-go-lucky world, which is obviously not prepared for, or I say world, Piltover. Obviously the rest of Runeterra is insane, but yeah, a little bit silly. Crazy how therapist YouTubers humanize Caitlyn's fascism arc. Well, as I've said in this live stream, like the quote unquote fascism arc is just dropped, in my opinion, halfway through. Like they set up all the Caitlyn fall from grace in the intro, in the first arc. As I've said, she's going around gassing children who have been enslaved to work in a bloody chem facility by chem barons. Yikes. That's not great. You know, you go in, you set up these security checkpoints in Zorn, which, you know, we really have to start to talk about the overreach of Piltover. Does Piltover have, like, authority in the land of Zorn? You know, I know they want independence and stuff like that, but to just go in and, you know, it's one of those, and it's an interesting thing that they tried to work at with season 1, but it would have been an interesting thing to try and get the hoity-toity council members to work with the horrific chem barons to try and come up with some kind of, like, again, there's the thing with Smeech, you know, let's get Jinx, let's just give Jinx over and it'll be done, we'll be fine. You know, that could have led to something quite interesting. You know, and that could have led to the actual downfall between the two or whatever, but instead we just have Piltover and Noxus. They just come in, set up security checkpoints and force these people to do things, which, yeah, seems a bit weird. Where's their representation? No taxation without representation. Yeah, a little bit odd. A little bit odd in my opinion, a little bit of wasted opportunity, but again, it's one of those things that, as I said earlier in the stream, the, like, 2-minute music video, Sucker, which is awesome, by the way, I do like that, but that 2-minute music video sequence could have been an entire season. The Chem Baron War, vying for power, that could have been an entire season's arc, but yeah, whatever. Definitely dropped for a few things. Zorn is more or less an independent city, but not fully. It's the city of glass and iron with its own college. Yeah. Which is not set up at all in the show. It seems more like it's the slums of Piltover than it is its own thing. With Zorn has a lot of has hundreds of years of history as its own thing. Like Silco didn't just come up with the independent nation of Zorn in a dream, in like a fever dream. It's a goal that he wants to reenact. However, it seems that they have no independence. They aren't their own thing, and this, to them, quote-unquote, foreign police officers can just waltz into their city, arrest people, and waltz out. Kind of crazy. I'm not talking about real-world stuff here. I'm talking about Arcane, let's be frank. But yeah, it's just a bit glossed over. And then, look, in my opinion, I said it in the stream before, but how can you say, I'm sorry, how can you say that Caitlyn went on a dictator fascism route when Isha, like a 6-year-old, can outplay those security checkpoints, right? It's so unserious, man. Like, you want to set it, yeah. Well, it's like the dropping of the police brutality thing, right? It's like you want to set up this big, scary, intimidating faction, but then you also have them do just bizarro, cringe stuff. One moment, folks. I'm just getting a phone call. I will be right back. Pop more questions down there for me, more comments. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Sorry, folks. I will be 1 second. Goodness me. Anyway, folks, apologies about that. Where were we? Let me catch back up here. Very, very high budget stuff here, guys, of course. Yeah, so like Zorn basically should have more authority over allowing like these security checkpoints. Like it just seems a bit odd that they take her down this, yeah, this, as you say, this dictatorial fascist path, which she absolutely goes down and then drops, and there's just elements to it that just, don't make much sense at all to me. That's fine. I'm just your average layman, really. They only get Savika. Will be, yeah, like you have one single representative for the entire nation of Zorn. Really? As you say, let me just need to write something down. Excellent. Yeah. Oh, that opens up some interesting questions about her and her character as well. So, like, yeah. So they say, oh, yep, Zorn, you get to sit on the council, but we see multiple times that it comes down to a vote. Yeah, she's going to get outvoted every decision. What's the point? It's a meaningless position. Literally means nothing. Especially if you're meant to be some independent city. Why are you on the Piltover Council? Why don't you have your own council? Make your own decisions. And then maybe Savika can be like the in-between. Just say, hey council, hey Piltover, we made this decision. We want to do some trade or whatever. And it's going to happen. We've made the call, we're independent, we can do what we want. You have to work around this. But yeah, it's just this, oh yeah, you're going to sit on the council. Anything you say or do is going to get overruled every time. What's the point? What's the point? They should be two separate cities anyway, with their own everything, And yet, like, Savika as well. It's what a bizarre thing they do with Savika. Like, in Season 1, Savika leaves Vander because Vander doesn't want to give up his own and doesn't want to fight back. Savika then goes and joins Silco. Silco then also doesn't want to give up Jinx, and Savika has many issues with that in Season 1. Not only does she have lines of dialogue saying how, silly and annoying that is, but Jinx also, like, ties her up and paints on her and clowns her, right? We get the one little thing of Savika being like, look, daughters and their fathers, she'll come back to you when she's ready, da-da-da-da. I always saw that as she likes Silco and respects Silco, so she's giving advice to Silco. Not, she actually likes Jinx. There isn't a moment. She like, plays with Jinx's mental state, being like, oh, by the way, your sister's back, which she knows is going to mess with her. Like, and then she goes from, I'm going to leave Vander for not giving people over to we cannot give people over within a season break. Like, which let's not forget this happens like the next day after the end of season 1. So she I don't know, they wanted to turn Jinx into the savior and then have Savika there with her. So Savika just 180s into this, no, we don't give up our own. Oh. Maybe had you told season 1 Savika that, Vander might be alive still. I don't know. That's like a little butterfly effect, isn't it? Imagine if they played Linkin Park when Jayce was talking to Viktor. Hey, let's not forget Linkin Park made a song for Arcane, so that's more accurate than you thought. Or at least 2 of the members of the current Linkin Park. They did the Heavy as the Crown song. Linkin Park themselves did a version of Heavy as the Crown before Arcane came out, and then the new female singer, along with I forget his name, the gentleman that does a lot of the actual writing of the music and the rapping and stuff in the Heavy is the Crown song in Arcane itself. So you're not actually too far out from that potentially being a reality we could have had. Goodness me. Savika has no lines after Ep 4. Yeah, she's just a figure piece. Just like a representation of Zorn, and they wanted Zorn to be a lot nicer than the gruff and tumble that was set up before. So yeah, Savika gets like a nice little yee haircut and becomes the peacekeeper. Yes. Savika, who worked for Silco for years, becomes the peace-loving. Okay. Makes heaps of sense to me. Mike. Yeah. Yep. Mikey boy. Yeah, which, I mean, as I said before, there'll be in future, not anytime soon, but there'll be a whole stream dedicated to talking about the music and the lyrics, and I might do like I'm ranking all of my favourite songs, that kind of thing, but that'll be something for the future, I think, because I like the soundtrack for the most part. I think there's a couple songs where the writing, lyrics-wise, is a little bit too on the nose. I said it last live stream, but like the Hellfire song, it's a cool song, it's an action-y song, but the lyrics are like, ugh, bud, is that a first draft or chinkies? They nerfed Zorn, absolutely. They nerfed Zorn again. Like, Zorn was awesome. It had its own culture, and it has. It's set up to be like you really don't want to mess with these folks. They're getting angrier and angrier and getting stomped on more and more and more. And you constantly compare the visuals of what you see in Zorn to what you see in Piltover, and Piltover is just like a bunch of buffoons in comparison to Zorn. But again, Zorn has to be a bunch of buffoons for them to fail against Piltover. So I don't know. They also took away Viktor's genius and Heimerdinger's Porro. What happened to Heimerdinger's Porro, bro? Seriously. Between seasons, he just disappears. It's like Ren, the sheriff's daughter. Quite sad. They could have, if they changed Isha's look a bit, they could have made Rem, whichever it is, Isha, How tragic would have that been if the new big sister motherly role that Isha gets is actually the woman who killed her father? Oh, that would have been cool, but no. We're just gonna forget about, because they're only important to Grayson's, to Marcus's storyline. So let's drop it. No, you could use that to seed other things, like Isha. I don't know. Well, they took away a lot. Like, they took away Heimerdinger's intelligence and turned him, in my opinion, into a clown. Like, that is my basic overview of Heimerdinger in Season 2. The first 3 episodes, he's turned into, like, a clown. Then he disappears for 3 episodes. We get nothing from him. And then he dies. Like, oh, okay. Amazing. Truly amazing. Oh, genius writing. My God. And yeah, it's just unfortunate to see the characters that I like to see and like to get what kind of dialogue they're getting and all of that. What have we got here? Okay. Very good, very good. But yeah, bro, like, Heimerdinger's Porro just disappeared. He obviously went to the pound along with Marcus's daughter into the forgotten bin, along with Isha, along with many things. My God. Anyway, what have we done? We got nearly 3.5 hours here. I think that'll be enough. I finished the initial point of the live stream after like 2 hours ago. So people watching this on YouTube are going to go, oh, okay, we're going to talk about Piltover and security. And then the last 2 hours will be me talking about everything but that. But hey, that's the point, you know. I make this little PowerPoint to have a chat, you know, get people's perspective on things and characters and ideas. And we just go from there. Anyway. Did we have anything else? I think that was the last one. Yeah. That was the last one. So let me jump onto this little feller here, which I probably should have been the whole time, but that's fine. Okay. So, yeah, look, guys, unless there's anything else we want to chuck into the messages, I think that's a good place to end it. Just under 3.5 hours. I'm working... What am I working on? So, currently, I've got a few things that I'm working on video-wise for you guys. So, the two, like, kind of bigger videos that I'm working on. One is... it's all, like, the impact frames and hidden frames and blah, 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 blah from Secret Level. Not every episode of Secret Level has like amazing impact frames, but there are some couple that I've gone through that are some pretty cool visuals, pretty interesting stuff. I get it's tough to be like, oh, here's an interesting like foreshadowing on a 10-minute mini series, you know. But what's going on here? Strange. Streamlabs just decided to go, we ain't working for a moment, but it's working now, so that's fine. So yes, the Secret Level has some interesting stuff in it, so I'm just putting together a same thing that I did with Arcane in regards to the hidden details, impact frames, flash frames, also, Arcane-wise, I'm working on its every match cut. So if you know, Arcane has some brilliant match cuts all throughout, especially in Season 1. So if you don't know what a match cut is, that's basically like it goes from one scene to another. But they feed into each other either through visuals or through dialogue. So one example of that will be probably one of the most noticeable ones is you have Silco lean back in his chair and blow a ring of cigar smoke into like the camera, and then it cuts to the hex gate going off, and like Silco's head along with the ring of smoke lines up with the hex gate tower and the like arcane runes that come around it, or you've got the one that is stringed together through dialogue. So you have like Finn say to Savika, you know, there are bigger fish out there than Silco, and then it cuts to Ambisa's airship, right? So you have the visual match cut, and then you have like the dialogue or audible match cut. So that'll be an interesting video that is going to take quite some time to go through, because I also need to not only go through the visuals of it, which, you know, with the impact frames, I can just listen to a podcast or something while I'm editing. This one, because there's dialogue involved, I'm going to have to go through, you know, each, even from scene to scene, but like transitions in fights. There is often little minor match cuts within fights, so there's a lot of stuff to put together. But those are like the two kind of majors that I'm working on. Stream-wise, I've got two in mind. So as I've said before, one that's revolved around the music, and then another that is about, I won't spoil anything, but it's about the most like what's the word? The most, hold on one moment. basically characters that we misunderstand, the most misunderstood characters, right? And I'm going to go through a couple interesting characters that I want to discuss. But I'll give you a small spoiler. It's going to be a bit of a joke. It's going to be a bit of a ha-ha, funny stream, right? So I'm going to be talking about characters like Metal Jawman. I'm going to be talking about characters like Maddie, who is obviously misunderstood. She's actually really good. She just got knocked on the head in episode 3. She was actually a sweet, innocent person until she got knocked in the head. I've got the impact frames ready to go. She gets smacked in the head and suddenly she changes into a Noxian agent. It's no good. It's no bueno. Stuff like that. So that'll be another stream that I'll go through, have a bit of a ha-ha, have a bit of a chat, see how much depth we can get out of characters that literally don't have names, like Metal Jawman. And the bug-eyed, clearly mentally ill guy that works for Silco, he's a nice guy. He likes to dance. He likes music. He's a nice guy, guys. Anyway, that will be, look, that is everything, fellas. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you've been watching for this long. Next stream, we will, I don't want to pin down a particular time or anything like that. When it comes to me streaming at the moment, much like my YouTube videos, when I've got something prepped to go, I'm just going to do a stream, and if you're around to watch, you're around to watch. It is what it is. And videos wise, like, look, when the videos are done, I put them up. That's how we go. That's how we roll. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next stream, y'all.